Chapter 246. Did the campus bell do it on purpose? TSK, TSK, TSK. The campus bell turned out to be such a person. She must have done it on purpose. He didn't know why, but when he thought of Ji Xiaoxi being seen in public, he felt a little excited. Ha, why did he become so bad? Ha. He must have learned it from the campus bell. Ji Xiaoxi was silent for a moment, then said, I did use that pill before. Campus bell, is there a problem with that pill? She almost blurted out, why did you give me a pill with a problem? But now she was still in her peak state. No matter how dissatisfied she was, she couldn't offend the campus bell at this time, so she secretly noted it down. Campus bell, there's no big problem. Didn't you notice the name of the pill? Ji Xiaoxi. What? Campus bell, so smart. People will become smart, but they will also become peerless. Do you think there's any medicine that's so good that it doesn't have any side effects? I asked you before, and you needed it, so I used it to exchange for a bunch of things I don't need. Ji Xiaoxi was a little depressed. Was it her fault? The other party didn't say there would be side effects. If she knew it would be peerless, she would have definitely reconsidered. She let out a long breath. Is there a way to cure it? The others in the group didn't say anything, but they were actually overjoyed. Ha. Smart. What a good name. People will become smart, but they will also become peerless. Smart. Really smart. Ziyun and Qi Xiao Supreme secretly gave her a thumbs up. The campus bell was still the best. She publicly retaliated, and no one could find fault with her. Although they didn't know when Ji Xiaoxi offended the campus bell was nice and pleasing to the eye. She was the same kind of person as them. Ji Xiaoxi was selfish and only thought of herself, so they would definitely stand by her side unconditionally. Campus bell, there's no problem, it's just a side effect. Once the side effect is over, you will be able to grow hair. Ji Xiaoxi breathed a sigh of relief. It was just a side effect. She could still grow hair. That was good. She really had enough of being called ugly and mocked by others. How long will it take to recover? School bell, this is extremely smart. One pill can make a person smart for an hour, and the side effect is that after half a month, it will be a month. One pill is a month, and the number of pills you eat is a few months. When Ji Xiaoxi saw this answer, her heart turned cold. She had eaten 5 pills. She counted with her fingers. 5 pills meant 5 months. So she still had to go through nearly half a year before her hair could grow again? She had to go bald for almost half a year? Counting the 2 months of vacation, she would have to go to class with a Mediterranean hairstyle for almost the entire semester. Just thinking about it was unbearable. The only thing that made sense to her was that the next semester was in the second half of the year. She could wear a hat when the weather turned cold. When school started, it was still very hot, so she could only wear a wig. Ji Xiaoxi, is there no other way? For example, using other medicinal pills to grow hair? She didn't believe that such a pill didn't exist. In her heart, she was certain that the other party was deliberately trying to embarrass her. Campus bell, there is, but all my pills have side effects. If you want to make one of them complete, you will have to make up for it in other parts of your body. It depends on whether you are willing to pay the price. Tangwa's words made the people in the group thoughtful. They could actually do this. They had learned something. Ji Xiaoxi asked weakly, what are the side effects of growing hair? Top point. Chapter 247. Tangwa wasn't surprised by Ji Xiaoxi's question. She was discussing with the system about what kind of medicine to make. System, do you have any ideas? Host, no. I'm still a child. Please don't lead me astray. The price of growing hair is to become fat, ugly, acne. Which one do you think is better? The system held back and finally spoke. Host, you're so mean. She can't accept any of these 3. I think she'll still choose to go bald. Although she'll be extremely bald, she can still get a wig. At least her face will look good. She used to be fat, ugly, and acne. She can't accept it. Campus bell, I have 3 kinds of medicine for growing hair here. Ji Xiaoxi was a little excited. Which 3? What are the side effects? This time, she learned to be smart. She asked first before changing. The others in the group also stared at her. They didn't know why they thought the campus bell wasn't so easy to talk to. The campus bell had always disliked Ji Xiaoxi. Every time Ji Xiaoxi left, she would only appear to give them benefits. She would even delete some important chat records. Campus Belle. The first side effect is to gain 50 pounds. The second side effect is to become ugly. The third side effect is to have small acne all over your face. Of course, the side effect will only last for a short time. It won't last forever. Think about which one to choose. Ji Xiaoxi. The others in the group. As expected of the Campus Belle, Ziyun shook his head. He was a man, and he couldn't accept such side effects. In any case, he was also a handsome man. If he stood there, he would still charm a lot of female cultivators. Ji Xiaoxi couldn't accept it at all. Only after being fat, ugly, and acne would she understand that it was very painful to have any of these three side effects. She absolutely couldn't accept it. She'd rather go bald. Thank you for your kindness, Campus Belle, but forget it. Ji Xiaoxi didn't know if it was very difficult to accept, but after saying this, she left the group without saying goodbye to the others. The group was silent for a while, then it became lively again. Piamiao Xianzi, Campus Belle, is there really such a medicine? Campus Belle, yes, do you want it? If you want it, I'll make it for you right away. Everyone pondered. Make it right away? So this medicine was developed by the school belle, then, the school belle couldn't change the formula just because she wanted to. Thinking of this, they all chuckled. Only Fairy Piamiao still wanted it. Tanghua asked her for the herbs she needed, spent some time to prepare some for her, and left the group. Today, she planned to go to the company to take a look. The family Tang couple was very capable. Without the Ma family deliberately causing trouble, they had been slowly developing their family Tang business. Seeing that the family Tang group was thriving, she had no intention of interfering. Anyway, she had the evidence of Ma Mao splashing her with sulfuric acid and Ji Xiaoxi pushing her. Only sending Ma Mao to prison would be letting him off too easily. As for Ji Xiaoxi, she wasn't going to let her off. She was going to make her lose what she shouldn't have. Only then would she feel better. The Ma family connived with people like Ma Mao to suppress the family Tang clan and did not give the family a way to survive. The Ma family did not need to exist anymore. There was also a mistress in the Ma family who seduced her boyfriend's father, causing her boyfriend to have a stepfather. She wouldn't let her off. As for her boyfriend's father, he was very hateful. He didn't want such an outstanding son, so it was better for her boyfriend to inherit the Wei family. That Father Wei could go back and retire. If he didn't want to, he could go to the Ma family to retire. Peak. Chapter 248. During the holiday, Tanghua would message and call Wei Yu every day. Slowly, it became Wei Yu sending messages and calling Tanghua regularly. He would feel uncomfortable if he didn't receive any news from her for a day. After not seeing her for 3 days, he couldn't help but run to the family Tang. Even if he looked at her downstairs, he felt at ease. Wei Yu thought that his illness was getting worse and worse. However, what kind of illness was it that he didn't see Tanghua for a day? Boss, why are you so worried? Did you quarrel with sister-in-law? No. Wei Yu pursed his lips. They were fine. How could they quarrel? Besides, if they really quarreled, would he argue with a little girl? Besides, he couldn't bear to be fierce, couldn't bear to. He paused. It turned out that he couldn't bear to be fierce to her at all. Seeing that Wei Yu's brows were almost pinched to death, the lackeys below were a little anxious. Could it be that Ma Mao provoked boss? During the holiday, their boss seemed to have eaten crazy medicine. He went to find trouble with Ma Mao whenever he had nothing to do. Now, Ma Mao had to hide when he saw their boss. They also understood that in the past, their boss didn't show his true ability. Now that he showed his true ability, Ma Mao was beaten until he pissed his pants every time. The hooligans of number 1 high school and number 2 high school also knew that Beauty Tang of number 1 high school and school tyrant Wei Yu were friends. Although Beauty Tang had been splashed with sulfuric acid and half of her face was ruined, everyone still called her Beauty Tang. They didn't think of changing it. Those who hadn't seen Beauty Tang after her face was disfigured might question this title. However, once they saw her, they knew that she was dazzling. There was really no one else who could compare to her. Looking at her smile, one would completely ignore the scar on her face. Even if one noticed it, their first thought wasn't that it was ugly, but that their hearts ached. Such a perfect person was actually ruthless enough to hurt her. The Ma family suppressed the news tightly, but many people still knew that he was the one who did it. Ma Mao later understood why he was beaten up by Wei Yu. It was because of that Tanghua from number 1 high school who he had accidentally splashed with sulfuric acid on. If he wanted to blame someone, he could only blame the other party for looking too similar to Ji Xiaoxi. He had also lost his mind for a moment. Because of this matter, he was also scolded by his family Tang. Fortunately, the Tang didn't dare to provoke the Ma family, so this matter was settled. However, Ma Mao was still a little angry after being beaten up by Wei Yu often. As for Ji Xiaoxi, she had been avoiding him all this time. Just thinking about her made him angry, but he was also afraid that he would do the same thing in his anger, so he didn't go looking for Ji Xiaoxi. Now that school had started, he wanted to meet the so-called campus belle Tang. He wanted to see what kind of person the other party was to actually make that brat Wei Yu side with her, and the two of them even became friends. Ma Mao asked his underling to keep an eye on Wei Yu. Knowing that Wei Yu wasn't in school today, this was a rare opportunity. After school at noon, he slipped into number 1 middle school and stopped Tanghua from going to the cafeteria. It was too easy to recognize her. After all, Tanghua was the only one in the entire number 1 middle school who was disfigured by acid and could still go to school. Standing outside the canteen, Ma Mao raised his head and noticed Tanghua approaching from afar. The girl had a gentle and clean smile on her face. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail, and she was wearing a refreshing school uniform. The skirt of the uniform swayed as she walked. At a glance, all he saw was her elegant demeanor, completely ignoring the scar on her face. Ma Mao looked at the girl walking over, and his heart skipped a beat for no reason. Especially that face that couldn't be any more familiar. He couldn't take his eyes off it. It wasn't until Tanghua walked in front of him that his previous confidence seemed to have disappeared. Peak. Chapter 249. Ma Mao. Tanghua stood in front of Ma Mao and smiled. What are you doing here? Are you here to see if I'm doing well, or are you here to show off? Or are you here to stand up for the person you like? None of them. Ma Mao wanted to say something, but when he looked into Tanghua's eyes, he didn't know what to say. Previously, he had already thought of the lines he would say to Tanghua. In any case, he would threaten her and say some harsh words. He would say that Wei Yu couldn't protect her at all. He would also say that she was an ugly monster, and that Wei Yu was just toying with her. But when he really faced her, he forgot what he had said previously. For some reason, he couldn't say it. At least, he couldn't say it in front of this face. He cursed silently. If it weren't for this face, he definitely wouldn't have been soft-hearted. Yes, it was this face that was the same as Ji Xiaoxi's. Otherwise, he would definitely jump up and scold her. If there's nothing else, please don't appear in front of me. You should know that I hate you very much. Tanghua stopped smiling and didn't hide the disgust in her eyes. Yes, anyone would hate a person who ruined their face. It should be said that they hated her very much. She was originally a flower-like fairy, but because someone else was careless and saw wrongly, such an unexpected disaster was ruined. Who wouldn't feel resentful? Ma Mao saw the undisguised disgust clearly and couldn't help but take a step back. He was clearly the school bully of number 2 high school and had beaten up more people than many people ate. He had stabbed people and seen blood, but when he saw the disgust in her clear eyes, he suddenly felt an inexplicable panic. If you're showing off in front of me because my family Tang doesn't dare to do anything to you, I advise you to get lost immediately. Everyone from number 1 high school noticed this. When they heard that the boy with dyed blonde hair was Ma Mao, they all revealed looks of disgust. It was fine if he was showing off in number 2 high school, but he actually came to number 1 high school to disgust people. When they saw that Wei Yu wasn't around, they quickly informed the boys who were close to Wei Yu. Not long after, a few tall boys ran over and stood nervously beside Tanghua. Sister-in-law, did Ma Mao bully you? They're in my way. Is it convenient for you to throw them out? No problem. Ever since Boss said that they didn't need to be afraid of Ma Mao, they weren't polite to Ma Mao. If there was anything they were afraid of, Boss would take care of it. Moreover, they would not tolerate bullying their sister-in-law. Before Ma Mao could say a word, he was thrown out. He stood at the door gloomily. This was not his territory. He really did not dare to do anything. Just thinking about the disgust in those eyes made him feel uncomfortable. Ma Mao. When he turned around, he saw Ji Xiaoxi. Seeing that Ji Xiaoxi also had a look of fear in her eyes, he didn't have the heart to tease her anymore. He turned around and left. Ji Xiaoxi breathed a sigh of relief. Although Ma Mao liked her and said that he would never hurt her again, she was still afraid. She was afraid that Ma Mao would be in a bad mood and pour another bottle of sulfuric acid on her. Ma Mao walked all the way back to number 2 high school. When he saw Ji Xiaoxi just now, he actually didn't find her very attractive. It was as if he didn't like Ji Xiaoxi that much. He didn't know what was going on. What was even scarier was that the person in his mind was actually the girl whose face had been disfigured, especially the way she walked over with a smile. He couldn't get rid of it no matter what. Peak. Chapter 250. When Wei Yu heard that Ma Mao had come to look for Tanghua, he came to school that afternoon. Tanghua was listening to the class, so he leaned on the table and looked at her. In the past, he would be embarrassed, but now he was open and above board. Tanghua would say, "Boyfriend, you're looking at me so seriously. Are you in love with me?" If it was in the past, Wei Yu would definitely say with a sullen face, "How could that be? You're thinking too much." "I think so." This was Wei Yu's answer now. "I might really be in love with you." When he said that, he looked serious, indicating that he had no intention of lying. Hearing such a strange confession, Tanghua was no longer in the mood to listen to the class seriously. How did it feel to be flirted with by her boyfriend without warning? Especially with such a serious expression, Tanghua used her true thoughts to tell you that she wanted to flirt back. "Really?" She smiled, a happy smile on her lips. "So I've waited until the clouds parted to see the moon." When Wei Yu heard her words, his heart skipped a beat. He quickly found a notebook and wrote on it. After a while, Tanghua received the notebook. There was a heart drawn on the notebook, and the words on the heart were written. "Really?" She was so amused that she snorted and believed his words. She took the notebook, drew a heart, and wrote 3 words in the middle. Wei Yu couldn't wait to snatch the notebook. When he saw the 3 words, he broke into a big smile. The 3 words were, "Me too." Seeing that Tanghua was listening to the class with one hand flipping through the book and the other hand hanging down, he glanced at it, looked at it, and quietly inched over, tentatively reaching out his hand. In the end, he gritted his teeth and grabbed her soft little hand, causing Tanghua to turn her head. His heart pounded as he carefully observed her expression. He didn't have any intention of letting go. Instead, he tightened his grip, as if he was afraid that she would run away. Seeing that Tanghua only glanced at him and continued to listen to the class, he heaved a sigh of relief. His heart was filled with joy. This was his girlfriend, his person. He switched to 2 hands and held her little hand in the palm of his hand, as if he was treating a treasure. He wondered why he hadn't held his girlfriend's hand earlier. He regretted wasting so much time. "Boyfriend, be careful. The students behind us have all seen it. If the teacher sees it, I can't guarantee that he won't change our seats." This sentence scared Wei Yu so much that his entire body tensed up, making Tanghua laugh. Actually, with her current results and condition, the teachers wouldn't make things difficult for her. As long as she maintained her grades, the teacher wouldn't care if she was friends with Wei Yu. Recently, when the teacher talked about Wei Yu, the expression on her face wasn't one of disappointment but gratitude. All the teachers agreed that it was Wei Yu's appearance that made Tanghua continue to work hard. God, this is really a beautiful misunderstanding. "Boyfriend, have you thought about where you want to study in university in the future?" Tanghua suddenly remembered that she was going to be the top scorer. She would definitely go to B University in B City, the best university in the country. With her boyfriend's grades, if it wasn't for his family's wealth, he probably wouldn't even be able to attend a diploma mill. However, before she went to university, she would deal with the Ma family. Wei Yu was stunned for a moment and asked, "Where will you go?" "I'm so outstanding, so I'll naturally go to the highest university." Wei Yu looked at her radiant appearance and suddenly panicked. He didn't forget that he was in the last place and couldn't go to the highest university. "Since you're my girlfriend, no matter where you go, you're not allowed to leave me behind," Wei Yu said fiercely. Peak. Chapter 251. As Wei Yu spoke, He grabbed Tangwa's hand forcefully. "Whoever dares to have designs on my woman, I will beat him up until he can't get out of bed for half a year." Tangwa smiled and didn't say anything, but it still made Wei Yu very worried. He was a bad student, and his girlfriend was a straight-A student. His girlfriend was going to the highest school. What should he do? He was waiting online anxiously. Tangwa patted Wei Yu with a meaningful expression. "Then you have to work hard, boyfriend. It's only the first semester of the second year of high school. There are still 2 years left. With your intelligence and wisdom, what's a mere institution of higher learning?" It was because of this sentence that Wei Yu didn't even have the heart to refuse to study. His girlfriend said that he was smart and said that she had the chance to go to an institution of higher learning with him. How could he disappoint his girlfriend? Thinking of her disappointed eyes, he felt terrible. Wei Yu let go of Tangwa's hand and silently took out a brand new textbook. His books for a few semesters were all here, and he had never taken them out. Good luck. His girlfriend was encouraging him. He couldn't let her down. Wei Yu took a deep breath and flipped through the second-year textbook. He couldn't understand it. In the end, he silently took out the first-year textbook and exhaled. At least it was better to read. He didn't disturb Tangwa. His girlfriend was too amazing, and he was very anxious. If he went over to ask for advice and found out that he was even worse than he imagined, he didn't know if he would be disappointed. That day, Wei Yu watched Tangwa get into the car. He didn't even look for trouble with Ma Mao. He only said to his lackeys, "I'm going to my grandfather's house." Looking at the group of lackeys who had nothing to do, he patted their shoulders. "Do you know a saying?" The lackeys didn't understand. They felt that their boss was a little crazy. Hooligans aren't scary, but hooligans are cultured. From today onwards, all of you get lost and go back to study. At least pass this semester. Passing? I don't think they can do it. It's really difficult. Leaving behind a group of dumbfounded and disheveled lackeys, Wei Yu swaggered off. His grandfather knew many professor-level figures. With his intelligence, he should be able to catch up with his girlfriend's progress very quickly. He would never disappoint his girlfriend. In the following period of time, the students of Class 3 discovered a very terrifying thing. The school bully Wei Yu, who had never liked to study, was actually reading. Instead of sleeping in class, he listened attentively and took notes. After class, he didn't go out to play. Instead, he sat in his seat and did practice questions. According to a boy who went to the toilet, when he was squatting in the toilet, he heard the sound of someone reciting words next door. He thought that it was a very hard-working classmate, but he didn't expect that when the other party came out, it was actually Wei Yu. It wasn't scary for Wei Yu to study hard, but it was really scary for Wei Yu to memorize words while squatting. They felt that this world was too fantastical. Even Wei Yu began to study hard. At first, they thought that Wei Yu was putting on an act to please Tangwa. The entire school knew about their relationship. How much did Wei Yu dote on Tangwa? Just list out all the things he has done, and you will know. Every morning, he would wait at the school gate early in the morning, hand over warm milk and bread, and take Tangwa's school bag. Tangwa wanted to go to the library, so he went there early to reserve a seat. When it was close to noon, he would always secretly run down 10 minutes earlier to get food. During class, he would always buy some snacks. Peak. Chapter 252. When Tangwa was on her period, he would take out brown sugar from his bag in the bathroom. He would frown because of Tangwa, and his face would turn pale. He would be so nervous that he would ignore class and carry her to the school infirmary. If someone stopped him, he would say fiercely, "Go away. Can't you see that my girlfriend isn't feeling well? If you delay my girlfriend's treatment, I'll beat you up until you can't get out of bed for half a year." When Tangwa said that she was hungry or thirsty, he would always take care of her meticulously. The students of Class 3 were initially shocked, but they were now very used to it. If Wei Yu didn't dote on Tangwa for a day, they would feel that the world was about to change. Other than being showered with dog food countless times every day, they still felt that this kind of life was not bad. It was also very interesting to occasionally gossip about how Wei Yu would dote on Beauty Tang today. Now, the entire school forum was filled with all kinds of posts about Wei Yu doting on Beauty Tang. Someone even listed out what Wei Yu would do today. However, this didn't mean that they could accept Wei Yu studying hard every day. They thought that he would last at most a week. A month passed, 2 months passed. He was still persevering. Now, other than in front of Tanghua, Wei Yu didn't forget to bring a book when he went to the bathroom, did morning exercises, and ate. Occasionally, when his underlings were bullied, he would get back at them. Once, he brought his underlings to get back at them and even brought a math exercise book. The students of Class 3 found out later, and the entire class cursed in unison. Later on, those people who were beaten up by Wei Yu's underlings saw Wei Yu doing math questions and swore that they would never provoke Wei Yu again. Woo-woo, a hooligan wasn't scary. They couldn't afford to offend a hooligan who worked so hard and had a good family background. What if this hooligan turned into a mathematician in the future? A scientist? What kind of big shot was he? Wouldn't he hold a grudge? Wei Yu had already fallen in love with studying. He especially enjoyed the encouraging look his girlfriend gave him after every test. It was so warm that it warmed his heart. His math scores went from 30 points to 60 points, passing to full marks now. It only took him 2 months, but the students of Class 3 were shocked. He had only gotten 20 points deducted from his previous comprehensive science test, which was slightly worse than Tanghua's full marks, but he had already surpassed most people. His English didn't exist. Wei Yu had been exposed to English when he was young and was even nurtured as a genius prodigy who wanted to be sent abroad. It wasn't a problem for him to score full marks. His language, Wei Yu. Hee, to hell with your language. Boyfriend, today I printed a reading comprehension book and a few essay questions. Remember to finish them within a week. I will mark them carefully. Tanghua said very seriously. You won't disappoint me, will you? Wei Yu again cursed in his heart. Seeing his girlfriend's expectant eyes, he quickly sat up straight. Absolutely not. I will definitely finish it seriously. Yes, I believe you. Wei Yu was someone who wouldn't cheat once he made a promise. Of course, this was only limited to the person he made a promise to was Tanghua. He wanted to accompany her to the highest school. He didn't want to see her disappointed gaze. Her encouragement and trust were his motivation. Tanghua's lips curled into a smile. Looking at Wei Yu's pure appearance, she couldn't help but pat his head. So obedient. The students of Class 3, they wanted to throw their bowls. Peak. Chapter 253. Beauty Tang, Ma Mao is here again. The girl in front glanced at Wei Yu's empty seat. Wei Yu had taken the day off to participate in the mathematical Olympiad competition. Every time Wei Yu wasn't around, Ma Mao from number 2 middle school would sneak over. At first, they thought he was looking for Ji Xiaoxi. They didn't expect Ma Mao to look for Ji Xiaoxi and peek at Tanghua. Later, he came to look for Tanghua openly. They didn't know what he was thinking. Beauty, you have to stay away from Ma Mao. He's very dangerous. As soon as the girl in front of him said this, she realized that Ma Mao was looking at her with a heavy gaze. She was so scared that she hurriedly ran out of the classroom. Tanghua ate without looking at Ma Mao. Why don't I treat you to lunch today? Ma Mao said hesitantly. He didn't have the aura of a second middle school bully at all. If someone hadn't seen him bullying his schoolmate, they would have thought that Ma Mao was replaced. Tanghua raised her eyelids. I'm almost full. Even if you don't want to eat, you can still look at it. You can drink some tea or something. Ma Mao looked at Tanghua's face, and a touch of guilt rose in his heart. I think I may have really hurt you before. I apologize to you, okay? Host, you flirted with Ma Mao. The system was surprised. Tanghua snorted. I flirted with him because I ate too much. I haven't even flirted with my boyfriend enough. I don't have time to play with him. The system thought so too. Its host had a strong personality and would never flirt with someone she didn't have feelings for. It should be said that she would never flirt with someone who didn't attract her, even if she was beaten to death. Not interested. Tanghua buried her head in her food. Hurry up and leave. I don't want to see you. Do you have to be like this? Ma Mao was a little disappointed. What do you want? I'll compensate you. Okay? Tanghua raised her eyebrows. Sure. Seeing that Ma Mao was happy, she continued, if you splash sulfuric acid on my face, I'll forgive you and be good friends with you. Ma Mao's smile froze. He stared at Tanghua speechlessly. Do you hate me that much? Aren't you spouting nonsense? Why don't you ask the girls who were splashed with sulfuric acid? Who wouldn't hate the person who ruined them? Tangwa sneered and said, "What they want to do is much crazier than what I want to do. I'd be letting you off easy if they just turned you into ashes." Ma Mao was so shocked that he took a step back. He did not dare to look into Tangwa's eyes. She didn't know why he had come, and even asked for her forgiveness. He thought he had gone crazy. Was it because of that face that resembled Ji Xiaoxi's? He didn't know that he had liked Ji Xiaoxi in the beginning. He didn't understand that all eyes were on Tangwa now. As for Ji Xiaoxi, he no longer had the same feelings as before. Ma Mao still wanted to say something, but Fu Zhuoshu and Ji Xiaoxi entered the classroom. The two of them must have just eaten. When Ji Xiaoxi saw Ma Mao, she immediately hid behind Fu Zhuoshu. She was truly afraid of this crazy person. Fu Zhuoshu's expression changed when he saw Ma Mao. He quickly looked at Tangwa, who was eating slowly. Seeing that she was fine, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief. "Ma Mao, this is number 1 middle school." Fu Zhuoshu was not afraid of Ma Mao. His Fu family was not inferior to the Ma family. "She has already been hurt by you. How can you still appear in front of her with a clear conscience?" Fu Zhuoshu knew why Ma Mao had come. He found it ridiculous. He had hurt someone like that, and even used his family to force her. Now, he was asking for her forgiveness. This Ma Mao was really a jerk. The Peak. Chapter 254. Fu Zhuoshu knew that he was moved by Tangwa, but after seeing what Wei Yu had done for Tangwa and how he had changed for her, and seeing her happy and dazzling appearance, he didn't dare to destroy it. Ma Mao's appearance made him very vigilant. "It's none of your business," Ma Mao snorted. "You'd better take care of your girlfriend. You should be happy that I'm not snatching her from you now." After saying that, Ma Mao turned around and left. Fu Zhuoshu frowned. He did not notice the jealousy in Ji Xiaoxi's eyes and the way she clenched her fists tightly. He turned around and walked to Tangwa's side. "Be careful of Ma Mao. Get Wei Yu to keep an eye on him." After saying that, he returned to his seat and let out a long breath. He glanced at Ji Xiaoxi's back view. He could not see her expression clearly, but he understood Ji Xiaoxi's recent changes and her ambiguous words from time to time. Therefore, he restrained himself and did not interact too much with Tangwa. Actually, he wanted to make things clear with Ji Xiaoxi and forget about that matter. However, because of Ji Xiaoxi's baldness, he could not bear to break up with her. He was prepared to wait for her to recover before he broke up with her. Tangwa did not know what these people were thinking. Even if she did, she would not care. Ji Xiaoxi held her phone and thought that her hair would grow out soon. Counting the time, she would not be able to wear a hat before the final exam. She heaved a sigh of relief. It was really uncomfortable to enjoy everyone's strange gazes every day. Previously, she had worn a wig and accidentally dropped it during the exercises between classes, causing her to make a fool of herself. Now that the weather had turned cold, she simply wore a hat. However, she could still feel those strange gazes and could only endure it for the time being. Fu Zhuoshu's concern for Tangwa really made her angry. Fu Zhuoshu was clearly her boyfriend. Ma Mao, who originally liked her so much, seemed to also have a crush on Tangwa. She gritted her teeth. She really wanted to ask why. Tangwa was already an ugly monster. Why did so many people still like her? Fortunately, her hair was about to grow out. Ji Xiaoxi's eyes shone brightly. She had finally managed to change her life. She would not let Fu Zhuoshu leave her. It was almost the end of term exams. Ji Xiaoxi had been absent-minded in her studies recently. When she heard the homeroom teacher mention her name, she hurriedly sat up straight. "Ji Xiaoxi, don't be too stressed. Although your test results have regressed a little this semester, I can understand. You must be calm during this final exam." Ji Xiaoxi gritted her teeth. Why wasn't she as smart as Tangwa? Why did Tangwa get all the good things? She was extremely nervous at the thought that she might be stuck in the middle or lower tier of the final exams. Classmate Ji Xiaoxi can learn from classmate Tangwa. I believe that classmate Tangwa is someone worth learning from in these 2 semesters. She was strong and intelligent. Even after such a tragedy, she was still full of sunshine. She was always first in the test. Nowadays, no one dared to talk about Tangwa's face. In number 1 middle school, whoever dared to talk about her would be drowned by countless spittle. Not only did she save herself, but she also made Wei Yu turn over a new leaf. He went from being the worst student in the class to being in the top 15. If it wasn't for his poor language results, he would have been in the top 3 every time. No one dared to say that they were not worthy. The school teachers also tacitly agreed that they were together. The dean of teaching saw the two of them holding hands. He quickly pretended not to see them and took a detour. Yes, teacher. Ji Xiaoxi lowered her head. It was already like this, but Tanguo was still so dazzling. No, she had to do well in the final exams. At the top. Chapter 255. It had been a long time since Ji Xiaoxi got something good in the group. Although she kept an eye on the group whenever she was free, she didn't dare to snatch red packets at school. Although the people in the group still sent red packets often, for some reason, they often sent them when she was in class. She didn't dare to snatch the red packets at all. If she clicked on it and a small item appeared out of thin air, she could hide it. If a large item appeared directly on the desk, she would definitely be caught and cut into pieces for research. She was really unlucky recently. When she returned home, she would lock herself in her room. She snatched a lot of red packets, but to her, they didn't have any direct effect. Especially the school bell group owner, who often sent her big gift bags during class. She didn't dare to snatch them. Once, she took a leave of absence from class to go to the bathroom. In the end, she snatched a roast goose, and it was sweet. She hated sweet roast geese the most. Xiaoxi, are you confident that you can get into the top 10 in this final exam? The person who asked was Ji Xiaoxi's deskmate who got along well with her. Your condition this semester isn't very good. Why don't we review together after school? Ji Xiaoxi's deskmate had a good temper and good grades. She had always been in the 7th or 8th place in the class. Whether it was the Ji Xiaoxi before the change, the perfect Ji Xiaoxi after, or the bald Ji Xiaoxi now, her attitude was always the same. This was also the only good friend Ji Xiaoxi recognized. If Ji Xiaoxi was calm, she would be able to feel her deskmate's concern. At this moment, Ji Xiaoxi almost lost the ability to think. Everyone knew that she was bald and that her grades were declining, although the usual tests weren't that important. However, for the midterm exam, she studied hard for a week and only got 19th place in the class. She didn't do well in the midterm exam because she was shocked by her baldness and couldn't perform well. If the final exam was the same, it could only mean that her grades were unstable. With Tanguo in front, everyone would compare her to Tanguo. These days, she could hear these words every day. They said that Tanguo was disfigured and became the first in the grade. She just couldn't take the blow because she was bald. She couldn't take it lying down. In her eyes, her deskmate's worried look was also questioning her ability. No need. Ji Xiaoxi's tone was cold. My mom wants me to go home early. They'll be worried if I'm late. Ji Xiaoxi's deskmate didn't notice the coldness in Ji Xiaoxi's tone. She only thought that Ji Xiaoxi was in a bad mood, so she kindly comforted her. Oh, okay then. If you need help, don't hesitate. This kind of charitable tone was really annoying. Ji Xiaoxi pursed her lips tightly and buried her head, not even glancing at the girl sitting at the same table. Hee hee. Wei Yu was attracted by Tanguo's chuckle and stared at her without blinking. Are you very happy? Yeah, I'm happy. His girlfriend was happy, and so was he. Wei Yu revealed a big smile. Recently, he had cut his hair. He was handsome to begin with. Now that his grades were good and he had clean short hair, he had become the Prince Charming in the hearts of countless girls. But in his eyes, there was only Tanguo, and no other girl dared to provoke her. It's almost the weekend. Do you want to go out and play? Wei Yu was a little nervous. Recently, he had read a lot of girlfriend strategies. A holiday date was a very romantic thing. Girls would like it. At the same time, he would also prepare a little surprise. Girls would also like this boy more and more. Vertex. Chapter 256. Boyfriend, the final exam is coming soon. Don't be so playful. Have you finished the reading and essay that I printed for you? If you really want to go and play, you have to wait until after the final exam. I can accompany you wherever you want to go. Wei Yu was a little disappointed at first, but when he heard the last sentence, he quickly nodded. I'm almost done with the exam papers. I'll definitely do well at the end of the semester. Tanguo liked Wei Yu's sparkling eyes very much. His eyes were very focused, especially when he looked at her. Those dark and bright eyes could not tolerate anything else except her. She touched Wei Yu's forehead and smiled. "You're so cute. I want to kiss you." Wei Yu blushed and didn't dare to look at Tang Guo's eyes, but he couldn't bear to avoid them. He could only look at her seriously with a red face. This made the students of Class 3, who were secretly observing them, curse. This hooligan who didn't even blink when he hit someone was actually blushing. This was really a terrifying thing. "Everyone, look. This is still the classroom," Wei Yu said softly. "If Guo really wants to kiss me, let's find a place where there's no one after school." That "I don't care what you do" look made Tang Guo unable to stop smiling. She really liked Wei Yu. He was a cute and pure person. Her soft little hand touched Wei Yu's eyes. He had no intention of dodging at all. Although he couldn't kiss her, he could still touch her if his girlfriend wanted to. He felt that the people around him were using books and notebooks to secretly look over. He glared fiercely at them, scaring the students of Class 3 so much that they didn't dare to look over. Only then was he satisfied. When he faced Tang Guo, he revealed that kind of puppy-like obedient eyes. This scene made the students of Class 3 very uncomfortable, as if they had been hit hard. They were about to vomit blood. Was it really good to treat her so differently? It wasn't easy for them to endure until school ended. The students of Class 3 ran out screaming. They really didn't want to face the people in the classroom who were showing off their affection during and after class. They didn't need to turn around to know that Wei Yu was helping Campus Belle Tang Guo pack her bag. He carried her bag without complaint and guarded her like a knight. He paid attention to the people who rushed out at any time to prevent Tang Guo from being hit by others. Only when Tang Guo got into the car safely would he return to being the leader of the hooligans. The family Tang also knew about Wei Yu. After understanding him, they chose to wait and see. Later, Tang Guo told the family Tang couple that Wei Yu was her boyfriend and wanted her to go to university with them in the future. They were not surprised at all. When they heard about Wei Yu's changes and his skyrocketing results, the family Tang couple was already calm and composed. They smiled and said, "As expected of the young man our daughter has taken a fancy to." Wei Yu had already gone from being able to send Tang Guo to family Tang's car to being a guest in family Tang's car. "Miss, Sir and Madam said that they want to invite young Master Wei back for dinner," the driver said with a smile. Young Master Wei's performance this semester had blinded the eyes of countless people. In the beginning, many people were mocking the family Tang, saying that the family Tang's daughter was disfigured and only had the chance to be entangled with a hooligan. How could they know that this hooligan wasn't simple? He was a pearl covered in dust, and a pearl that only liked Mississippi Wei Yu was very happy. He quickly opened the car door and helped Tang Guo into the car. He got in after her and bared his white teeth at the driver. That silly look made the driver's forehead twitch. Peak. Chapter 257. After Ji Xiaoxi returned home, she hurriedly opened the group chat. After taking a deep breath, Tang Guo. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw that her hair was slowly growing out of her head. However, when she thought of the final exam, she put on her hat again, gritted her teeth, and continued to send messages. "Ji Xiaoxi, school bell, are you there? I have something to talk to you about." Ji Xiaoxi's appearance piqued the interest of everyone in the group. They didn't want to make any more deals with Ji Xiaoxi, but they were all very interested in Ji Xiaoxi directly looking for Tang Guo. What was Ji Xiaoxi doing? Wasn't she worried that Tang Guo would be at a disadvantage? Was the school bell someone who would be at a disadvantage? Wei Yu was doing Chinese reading questions in Tang Guo's room. Tang Guo was leaning against the side, flipping through the book and watching him do it. Although Wei Yu was a little surprised that his girlfriend wasn't going to kiss him in her room, doing the questions was the same. Anyway, his girlfriend was beside him, and the troublesome Chinese reading questions became a little cute in his eyes. "Host, Ji Xiaoxi is calling you in the group." Tang Guo raised her eyebrows slightly. "Got it." To be honest, she was a little curious about why Ji Xiaoxi was looking for her. Thinking of this, she had already seen the message in the group. "School bell, what's the matter?" When Ji Xiaoxi saw the group leader appear, she felt a little uncomfortable thinking that she would be bald for a few more months. However, when she thought about her poor grades, she felt even more uncomfortable. She wanted to do well in the exam and not be looked down upon by others. Another reason was to catch up with Fujuashu. Tangwa's IQ was too abnormal. She didn't expect to be able to catch up with her at the moment. As long as she entered the top 10 and was closer to Fujuashu, it would be fine. No matter what, she couldn't be worse than Wei Yu, right? Ji Xiaoxi, school bell, do you still have that smart pill from last time? When Tangwa saw this sentence, she was really stunned for a moment. She blinked. Ji Xiaoxi wanted to take the initiative? As a system, I don't quite understand Ji Xiaoxi's thoughts. Hee. The system didn't understand, but Tangwa instantly understood Ji Xiaoxi's thoughts. It was nothing more than being unable to accept the results going back to their original state. Once a person stood in a position that did not belong to them and enjoyed the glory that came with that position, who would be willing to return to their original mediocrity? Could it be that Ji Xiaoxi has never thought about it? In fact, after eating so many elixirs refined by Ziyun, her brain has long since become much smarter than ordinary people. As long as she studies hard, it's impossible for her to surpass the host, but it's still very easy for her to get into the top 10 or top 5. Where do you think the phrase reap without sowing and pie in the sky came from? Who would want to work hard when they are used to reaping without sowing? Do you think it's better to be able to pick up a lottery ticket worth 5 million just by walking a few steps, or to set up a stall to earn 5 million by selling breakfast? The system paused for a moment, then said, "Of course, it's because it feels good to pick up money. Isn't that it?" Ji Xiaoxi was the kind of person who liked to pick up money. After tasting the sweetness, would she be willing to use her hands and put in effort to earn money? Her heart is already restless, and she can no longer calm down to study properly. The system was still a system. In the end, it was somewhat puzzled and asked, "What about you, host? Why do you work so hard to learn all kinds of skills?" Tangwa was a little sad, because I picked up a system that only reports the plot. There's no novice gift pack, no big gift pack, no reward for completing tasks, no system store, and no conditions to reap without sowing. System. So, was it blaming him? He couldn't refute it. He received 10,000 points of critical hit. Peak. Chapter 258. The system, which had suffered a blow, chose to hide and secretly heal itself. It recalled the days when it got along with Tangwa. Especially in the beginning, it was not easy for the host. At that time, it was definitely not as smart as it was now. In its program, it only urged the host to complete the task. If the host was disobedient, it would warn her by obliterating her. In fact, there was no obliteration in its program. The words it said were just programmed. After upgrading, it vaguely felt that the host was the one it should hug. On the other side, Tangwa came back to her senses and asked Ji Xiaoxi, "You want to exchange that kind of pill with me? This pill has side effects." Ji Xiaoxi did not hesitate at all. "I've decided. I want to exchange." "Campus bell. Is it for you?" Ji Xiaoxi, "No, it's not. I'm exchanging it for my good friend. Her academic performance has always been poor. I want to help her. I originally wanted to help her with her tutoring, but it didn't work." Tangwa smiled. "Then you have to tell her about the side effects." Ji Xiaoxi, "I will." "Campus bell, are you willing to exchange with me?" In fact, Ji Xiaoxi was a little nervous. The campus belle was not a good person. She would treat people well if they were pleasing to her eyes. If she did not like them, she would not even care about them. She could understand. After all, she was the only ordinary person in the group. The others in the group seemed to respect the campus belle very much. The other party must be a peerless powerhouse. She did not know why the campus belle was not close to her. She also wanted to have a good relationship with the campus belle, but the other party did not lack anything. A few words could not deceive her. From the chat records, she could also see that the campus belle was not a sympathetic person. Last time, Zian said that he passed by a small country one day. This small country had just been destroyed, and the people surnamed by were living a hard life. Those poor people who could not eat their fill came to beg him. He was compassionate and asked the campus belle if there was any way to help these people. Then the campus belle said, "Ziyun, since you are a cultivator, you should know what will happen if you meddle in the karma of the mortal world. A fallen nation will definitely have heroes in troubled times to save them. If you save them, you'll be robbing them of the opportunity to appear. You can't keep the people in charge of this place going. That's the cause you planted. You want to change the fate of this small country, but you don't know that you will be stopping the person who can truly save their fate. Can you take this fruit? If you can handle it, then do it. His words completely dispelled Purple Cloud's pity for him. He only felt that these people were pitiful, but he did not know the cause of all this. If he took care of these people, the true savior would not appear. And then, when he thought about Reverend Ziyun, he felt that the consequences would be terrifying. It was fine to help one or two people once in a while, but if it was related to the survival of the country, he could not bear it. Ji Xiaoxi didn't understand the concept of karma. She only thought that Tao Master Ziyun was such a powerful cultivator that he could easily change the fate of ordinary people. Besides, didn't that hero of chaos not appear? Who knew if it would appear in the future? She didn't dare to say anything on the surface, but she secretly thought that the school bell had no sympathy and was a cruel and cold person. When Ji Xiaoxi came back to her senses, she saw the latest message in the group. Campus bell, then what will you give me in exchange? I won't give my things away for free. You can think about what you can trade with me. Vertex. Chapter 259. Ji Xiaoxi pursed her lips, feeling a little uncomfortable. What did she mean by not giving it away for free? Did she think that she didn't notice her sending red packets in the group every day? If it weren't for the fact that they didn't know each other, she would have thought that the other party was deliberately targeting her. Ji Xiaoxi would never have thought that Tanghua was in the same class as her. Ji Xiaoxi, what does the school bell want? I have a lot of good items in this world. Recently, she had earned some money and could buy some luxury goods. Ji Xiaoxi paused and continued to send messages. Our accessories here are very exquisite. The school bell should be a girl, so she likes things like this, right? Also, the dresses are very nice. Seeing this sentence, Tanghua smiled and said to the system, find me some beautiful and expensive dresses and accessories from the system space. Take 2 pictures and send them to the group. Okay, host. The host was still as bad as before, always attacking other people's strengths. He suspected that the host was from a cult. Suddenly, there were several pictures in the group. The first 2 pictures were exquisite accessories. Even a straight man like Ziyun Zhanren would feel that they were beautiful and wanted them. Not to mention Piao Miao Fairy and Margaret, who were women, would go crazy when they saw these accessories. Piao Miao Fairy, school bell, name a price. I want that crystal necklace. I really like it. Margaret, I like that black gem necklace. I want to engrave the most beautiful curse on it. Emmanuel, I want it too. I want to give it to my fiancée. She will definitely like such a beautiful necklace. The rest of the people didn't say anything. They had no reason to want the necklace, but it was really beautiful. School bell, Ji Xiaoxi, do you have any accessories that are better than these? If you do, I can give you a lot of smart ones. System, ha 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 ha, he can't take it anymore. Host, are you not flaunting your wealth in a low-key way to attack Ji Xiaoxi? Piao Miao Fairy also noticed the picture below. Wow, what kind of dress is that? There are even gems on it. It's so beautiful. Unfortunately, it doesn't suit me. Margaret, school bell, I want that dark black dress. The style of this dress is somewhat similar to our playing. I think I can wear it when I go out. Perhaps, in the future, I should change out of my unchanging black robe. This dress made me change my mindset of wearing everything the same. Margaret thought to herself that if those stupid nobles found out that she, a holy wizard, wasn't wearing a black robe, but a dress that was even more luxurious and beautiful than the clothes of the royal family, she wondered how those nobles would look at her in awe. She was looking forward to it. Ziyun Dao Master and the others were a little jealous. Why wasn't the campus bell the campus hunk? If the school bell was the school hunk, she would definitely like to collect men's items. School beauty, Ji Xiaoxi, do you have any dresses that are prettier than these? Are they gorgeous? If there is, I can give you the benefits you want. Ji Xiaoxi was speechless. She had never seen the accessories on it before. Just from the picture, she could tell how exquisite and noble they were. Not to mention the gorgeous and beautiful dress with a unique Western European style. Even in the photos of the current European royal family, she had never seen such a beautiful dress. Even if there was one, she couldn't afford it. Ji Xiaoxi, Sorry, school beauty. Your dress and accessories are too beautiful. Mine can't compare. School beauty? Oh, so it's like that. Chapter 260. Ji Xiaoxi was very anxious. She was afraid that the campus belle wouldn't give her the pills, so she quickly said, "Campus belle, I really need this pill. My friend needs help, and I don't want her to be sad because of her grades. Please help me." From these accessories and dresses, she thought that the campus belle was from a powerful aristocrat in the ancient European world. "Campus belle, you should know that I don't like to give things away for free." Ji Xiaoxi, "Campus belle, however, I sympathize with your friend, so you can exchange some ordinary items with me." Ji Xiaoxi breathed a sigh of relief. Then, she saw the campus belle say, "Of course, it's best if it's not an ordinary item. You can also exchange the items that you exchanged with other group members." Ji Xiaoxi hesitated. She still had some beauty pills, 3 good luck charms, and 3 curse charms from Margaret, a strength charm, and a dagger from General Billy. She didn't want to take out the beauty pills, the good luck charms, the curse charms, and the strength charm. As for the dagger, she could exchange it. In the end, Ji Xiaoxi decided to exchange the dagger, 2 good luck charms, and a strength charm. Tanghua looked at these items and fully expressed her sympathy for Ji Xiaoxi's friend. "You have 4 items here. I'll give you 3 wisdom pills for each item. So, in the end, there are 12 pills in total. What do you think?" That was great. She couldn't be too satisfied. Ji Xiaoxi didn't expect to exchange so many things. It seemed that the campus belle wasn't a cold-hearted person. She was touched. "Campus belle, this is the last time I'm exchanging with you. I don't think you have anything that can interest me." Ji Xiaoxi thought that it was enough. As long as she passed this final exam, she could study slowly in the future. Maybe she wouldn't run out of pills. After receiving the wisdom pills, Ji Xiaoxi didn't worry about anything. She left the group and was in the mood to go out with her good friends. Margaret and Piao Miao Fairy also exchanged items with Tanghua for dresses and accessories that they were interested in. They left the group very satisfied. Tanghua sent them a gift bag of snacks and said, "I'm a little busy here. I'll leave first." After a long time, the Reverend Ziyun appeared. "I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I still can't figure it out. Why would the campus belle give Ji Xiaoxi 12 pills? The school belle didn't seem like the kind of person who would help an old man cross the road." Qi Xiao Jinjuan. "Maybe I'll show some kindness once in a while." Devil's Sect Leader. "Based on my intuition, the school belle won't be kind unless she's in a good mood or she has her own ideas." Alan. Harold. "What do you think, you burly guy?" Harold. Alan. "What do you think, you skinny guy?" Ziyun Junren. That's it. The campus belle is an otherworldly expert. How can we guess what she thinks?" The system secretly observed Tanghua. Seeing that way, you was nervously waiting for Tanghua to mark the papers. It couldn't help but ask, "Host, why are there 12 pills?" It was too strange. Guess if I'm guessing or not." "Guogua, how is it this time?" Wei Yu asked carefully. His language foundation was really too poor. It was really good to pass the passing line in 2 months. "It's okay." Tanghua was still satisfied. "With this progress, it won't be a problem for your boyfriend to go to be university." Wei Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He held his girlfriend's small hand and refused to let go. Peak. Chapter 261. The final exam was here again. Ji Xiaoxi walked into the examination hall confidently. Tanghua was in the first seat this time, and Fu Zhuoshu was in the seat behind her. If Tanghua maintained the first place in the cohort, then Fu Zhuoshu would chase after her relentlessly. However, there was still a gap between him and Tanghua. He was extremely smart, but it wasn't to the point where he wouldn't make any mistakes. Only the Chinese Language Society would deduct points out of friendship. Good luck in the exam. When he passed by Tanghua, he couldn't help but say softly. Tanghua only smiled and said, "Sure. I hope you won't be surpassed by me this time." Tanghua's lips curved. "You won't have the chance." Tanghua turned around and stared at the second seat. She narrowed her eyes. She felt that this seat was more perfect for her boyfriend. She would talk to her boyfriend later and ask him if he had the confidence to snatch the second seat. The exam went smoothly. Tangwa left the examination hall very early and went to the entrance of Wei Yu's examination hall. The patrolling teachers who occasionally passed by were not surprised. These two had a past to be friends. The first class was the Chinese language exam. Wei Yu almost used up all the time. When he walked out of the examination hall, his forehead was still sweating in the winter. Tangwa took out a tissue and handed it to him. If it wasn't for the fact that this was a school and she was afraid that it would affect her image, she would be happy to help her boyfriend wipe his sweat. "How was the exam?" Tangwa asked with a smile. Wei Yu thought about how the questions had gone smoothly today, and his eyes lit up. "I think it's not bad." After saying that, he revealed a big smile and took his girlfriend's hand to walk out. "What do you want to eat?" "I looked at the seat behind me today. I think this seat is quite suitable for you." Tangwa smiled, and there was some anticipation in her eyes. "I wonder when my boyfriend will be able to sit behind me and take the exam together with me." System. This host? It's hard to explain in a few words. She really used all kinds of methods to woo little brothers. She made little brothers blush, and their hearts beat faster. Her method of encouraging little brothers to improve was also very elegant and refined. Wei Yu immediately understood what Tangwa meant. He also knew who the second seat belonged to. When he recalled the way Fu Zhuoshu looked at his guogua, he felt a little anxious. Guogua is right. That position is really suitable for me. Wei Yu looked serious. "I will sit in that position very soon." Tangwa's eyes curved into crescents as she held her boyfriend's hand and walked outside. "Since you've done so well, I'll treat you to a meal today." Wei Yu's mind was filled with thoughts of learning Chinese and making up for it. No, he had to get his grandfather to help him hire an outstanding Chinese professor and improve his Chinese subject as soon as possible. He remembered that Fu Zhuoshu's total score for the midterm exam was 10 points lower than his girlfriend's. The gap was already very small. As for the other subjects, as long as he was willing, getting full marks was not a problem. The only problem was Chinese. It was a little difficult for him, but it was different now. His girlfriend wanted him to sit behind her in the same exam hall. His language results had to improve. The rest of the exam went very smoothly. Tangwa and Wei Yu only used half the time and left the exam hall after they were done. Then, the two of them spread dog food and went to the snack street outside the school to eat sweetly. After this semester, Wei Yu had become the role model of every form teacher. As long as anyone did not work hard, the teacher would say, "Look at Wei Yu from class 3. Do you know what his results were in the past? He was the last in the cohort. Now, he's already in the top 50. Wei Yu's family background is so good. He's already working hard. What excuse do you have to fall?" Students, their brains are really not as good as Wei Yu's. "Oh, it's too difficult." Peak. Chapter 262. The final results of the first semester of the second year of high school were released. Tangwa still maintained her first place in the entire cohort, only 1 point away from full marks. The deduction was for her essay marks. In fact, the language teacher really wanted to give her full marks. What was surprising and unsurprising was that Wei Yu had rushed into the top 10. Not the top 10 in the class, but the top 10 in the entire cohort. In the last test, Wei Yu's language had barely passed. Who would have thought that in just half a month, he would improve so much? His score could not compare to many outstanding language students, but it gave countless people pressure. Top 10 in the cohort, top 5 in the class. The top 5 students in class 3, except for Tangwa, looked at Wei Yu as if they had seen an enemy. They were very afraid. Fu Zhuoshu could not help but feel nervous. Wei Yu's speed of improvement was really terrifying. With such a speed, it was not impossible to surpass him. Ji Xiaoxi simply could not believe that Wei Yu was still in the last place last semester. She was indignant. With her intelligence, it was not easy for her to raise her results to the 12th place in the class, but it did not attract anyone's attention. When she thought about how she was going to be bald for a few more months, she felt bitter. Recently, the group members had been sending red packets at inappropriate times. Occasionally, she would bump into them, but she would not be able to get a good one. Her life was getting worse and worse. She was still indignant. Why could Tangwa still live so gloriously after being disfigured and steal all the glory? The other person was not having a good time either. It was Ma Mao, the school tyrant of number 2 high school. No one knew when he developed the habit of coming to number 1 high school every day to look for Tanghua. Over time, number 1 high school and number 2 high school knew that Ma Mao was infatuated with Tanghua. Those who knew found it strange, but those who did not know only thought that it was because Beltang was charming. With such a big commotion, the Ma family naturally knew. They all agreed that Tanghua had used some method to make Ma Mao infatuated with her. Her motive was definitely not simple. They thought that Family Tang was unwilling to give up and wanted to harm Ma Mao. Therefore, Ma Mao's mother took advantage of Ma Mao's absence to come to Family Tang and even asked to see Tanghua. Family Tang couple hated the Ma family to the core. They had been preparing for a long time, but the development of the business was not something that could be done overnight. Even though nearly a year had passed, they still could not compare to the Ma family. I don't have any other intentions today. Ma Mao's mother was once a young lady from a wealthy family. She had a proud look on her face. When she looked at Tanghua, her eyes flashed with disgust. I don't care what purpose the daughter of the Tang family has. Do you really like my son, or something else? But I'm warning you, you'd better stay away from my son. If the daughter of the Tang family was beautiful, it would be fine to play with her son. However, such an ugly monster was known by everyone. It was really embarrassing. When the Tang couple heard this, they almost fainted from anger. What did he mean by their precious daughter would like a hooligan like Ma Mao? Mrs. Ma, aren't you going too far? Tangua's mother said with an ugly expression. I don't know that my daughter provoked your son. My daughter has a boyfriend. I remember very clearly that his name is not Ma Mao. Mrs. Ma sneered. So she already has a boyfriend? Well, if she doesn't find a boyfriend soon, in the future. Tangua's mother could not help but stand up. The Ma family was really too much. Chapter 263. Tanghua held Mrs. Tang down and said to Mrs. Ma, Don't worry, I'm really not interested in your son. My boyfriend is in the top 10 of the grade and the top 5 of the class. He's tall and handsome, much better than your son. Mrs. Ma's expression changed. In the end, when she saw the ugly scar on Tangua's face, she laughed again. In short, you'd better not seduce my son. Otherwise, I won't be done with your family, Tang. You're going too far. After Mrs. Ma left, Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang slammed the table in anger. They had already calmed down, so of course, they knew that rushing up at this time would be sending their heads to the Ma family. However, they had already come to humiliate them, but they could only swallow their anger and not get justice for their daughter. They felt very uncomfortable. The two of them were silent. They looked at each other, and their eyes became more and more determined. No matter what, they would continue. Sooner or later, they would get justice for their daughter. Host, your parents are very angry. They are now discussing how to quickly develop the company in the study. The system seemed to understand why the host was so greedy for others to treat her well. He could feel that it was a delightful feeling. I originally wanted to take it slow, but the other party came to me in such a hurry. I changed my mind and don't want to let them live happily. System, I need your help now. The system was nervous. Host, please say. My ability has improved a lot now. Help me invade the Ma group and find loopholes in their group, evidence of tax evasion, and some businesses that can't be done openly. Monitor the communications of everyone in the Ma group. You must find out all the backers of the Ma family. When the system heard this, it felt the excitement of doing bad things for the first time. Understood. After you find them, monitor them carefully for me and try to catch their backers' weakness. Tanghua held the milk tea. The corners of her mouth curved into a smile. Can you do it? No problem, host. Don't underestimate me. This time, you just have to move your mouth. Let me do the rest. After giving these instructions, Wei Yu called. Have you been eating well, Guagua?
Yes.
I got a professor to tutor me this holiday, so I don't have much time to accompany you. You don't mind, do you? Wei Yu was a little nervous. If you want to go somewhere, you can still call me. At most, he would sleep less at night. Tangua's eyes curved into crescents as she responded. After chatting for a while, the two ended the call. System, host, I suspect that I have diabetes. Does the system also suffer from diabetes? System, I don't want to bother with this dog of a host. Ma Mao somehow got Tangwa's phone number. When he heard that Wei Yu hadn't asked Tangwa out recently, he finally summoned up the courage to call her. I know a fun place. Ma Mao didn't know what to say. Since you're free, do you want to come out and play? I'm not free. Tangwa sneered. I'm afraid that if I go out with you, your mother will come to my house the next day and scold me for seducing you. My mother came to look for you. Ma Mao's expression changed. When? A few days ago. All right, young Master Ma, my family Tang really can't afford to offend you. Please don't disturb my peaceful life. Do you have to see me unhappy to feel comfortable? Hearing these harsh words, Ma Mao wasn't angry. He only felt a little sad. The peak. Chapter 264. This Ma Mao is really stubborn. Tangwa put away her phone and smiled. Don't worry, I will let him understand that he has to pay the price for doing wrong. System. Scared. Ma Mao returned to the Ma family and quarreled with Mrs. Ma. Mrs. Ma thought that it was Tangwa who seduced her son. It must be that the other party was not reconciled, so she decided to teach the family Tang a lesson. The family Tang couple had been developing their business silently, but they did not expect the Ma family to start suppressing them. The Ma family also spread the word that it was the ugly family Tang who wanted to seduce their son. For a time, the family Tang was ridiculed by countless people. After the Ma family learned that Tangwa's boyfriend was the eldest son of the Wei family, Wei Yu, they said something to Wei Yu's stepwife, and the Wei family also began to suppress the family Tang. For a time, the family Tang was living in water and fire. Tangwa saw all this. The family Tang couple came back later and later every day, and their eyes were full of helplessness and guilt when they looked at her. She sat quietly on the stool and flipped through the book. System. How's the investigation? Host. It's almost done. The Ma family's backer is quite powerful. He's from B City. The Ma family stole a lot of taxes, and I copied all the evidence. I also have a lot of evidence that they secretly traded some illegal goods. Host. I also recorded a video. As long as there was internet, he could be everywhere. Although those people chose to trade in places without cameras, in this world, there was probably no one who did not use a mobile phone, right? He used his new skills to fabricate a virus and implant it into the Ma family's mobile phone. Whoever the other party contacted would be infected. After Tangwa learned about this, she finally confirmed that her useless system was still capable. Host, please don't look at me with that. I'm finally useful. Look. I will become more and more useful. Does the Ma family have any weaknesses? Host, what are the weaknesses you are referring to? It's the side of him that can't be exposed. If it is exposed, he will be dismissed in minutes, and his career will be gloomy. The system asked carefully, does keeping a mistress count? He was very careful when he collected the money. I couldn't find any evidence. He has more than a dozen mistresses, and I've secretly taken quite a few shocking videos. Do you want to enjoy them? Tangwa laughed. I'm not interested in appreciating it. It must be a fat guy with big ears. It's an eyesore. Send the video you took to him. The name of the email is Don't Meddle in the Affairs of the Ma Family if you know what's good for you. The system hurriedly did as he was told, and within 5 minutes, he received a reply. Host, he asked me who I am. Continue to video call him. The email address is its best if you don't interfere with the Ma family. The system did as it was told. This time, the other party didn't send a message for a long time. Half an hour later, there was another message. Host, he promised. Now is the time for you to shine. Report the evidence of the Ma family's tax evasion, as well as the illegal things that the Ma family has done in secret. Expose them. Not only do I have to report this evidence, but I also have to expose it on the internet. A glimmer of excitement flashed through Tangwa's eyes. She was running out of patience. Understood. I'll do it right away. The host was his thigh. As long as she was happy, it was fine. What was integrity? Ever since he knew that his power would increase when the host was happy, he didn't know what integrity was. Almost instantly, on countless forums and public discussion boards, posts about the Ma family appeared. The content of the posts was the same. First, it was the evidence of the Ma family's tax evasion. Then, it was the illegal business transactions of the Ma family. What was even more shocking was that there were videos of the transactions. Peak. Chapter 265. As soon as the post appeared, it was pushed to the top by countless people. Because of this post, the netizens went crazy. When the Ma family received the news, they quickly found someone to suppress the post. For some reason, the post could not be deleted. They wanted to apply for permission to have these forums temporarily shut down, and at the same time, they made a statement that it was slander. However, no one believed the Ma family's statement. The evidence was conclusive. As long as someone checked, everything would be clear. In a moment of desperation, the Ma family thought of their backer, but they did not expect to call an empty number. At that time, Mrs. Ma was playing mahjong with the rich ladies in the circle. When she heard the news, she fell off her chair, grabbed her expensive bag, and rushed to the Ma family. No one helped the Ma family suppress the news. The investigators went directly to the Ma group. It happened so suddenly that the Ma family was not prepared at all. They were investigated thoroughly. In addition, the content of the post was so detailed that even the password of the Ma family's safe was published. The Ma family was so angry that they almost vomited blood. Until they were taken away and detained, they did not know who was behind this. In just a few hours, when the higher-ups reacted and wanted to investigate the person who posted the post disappeared without a trace. They searched for a long time but could not find it. The netizens who were watching the show were also dumbfounded. They worshipped the great god who posted the post. As for the backer of the Ma family, he watched the whole process from the villa. After he got the result, he collapsed to the ground and even peed his pants. He quickly opened his mailbox. Sure enough, the email he received before disappeared without a trace. He wiped his cold sweat and made a decision. He would dismiss his lover and be a good official in the future. He always felt that he would be monitored by the mysterious person when he did bad things. System. It was a beautiful misunderstanding. That day, the family Tang couple came back very early. Compared to their usual heavy expressions, there was a bit of relaxation on their faces today. When they saw Tang Guo in the living room, they smiled at each other and sat beside her. Mrs. Tang's eyes were red. Guo, the Ma family is finished. She touched Tang Guo's face tenderly. After a long time, she said, "This is retribution. Your mother and I plan to sue Ma Mao. Guo, do you have any thoughts?" Father Tang said, "If he didn't add insult to injury now, when would he? He was a businessman, and now was the most difficult time for the Ma family." Although the Ma family was finished, it did not mean that some of the forces related to the Ma family were still around. If they were to sue Ma Mao now, the Ma family would be too busy to fend for themselves. However, they lacked evidence now, and they couldn't find any witnesses. If they could find them, they wouldn't be afraid of the Ma family. Of course, Tang Guo agreed. She knew Father Tang was suffering from a lack of evidence, so that night, she thoughtfully asked the system to deliver the evidence. The next day, Father Tang went out in high spirits. He went to tell Ma Mao. Mother Tang also went with him. Before noon, Wei Yu also came. Guo, my dad called me today. I've decided to go back. Tang Guo raised her eyebrows and saw Wei Yu's serious expression. When I take back what belongs to me, I will protect you. This was a promise from a young man. Good grades can make Guo very happy. You can accompany Guo, but you can't protect Guo. He couldn't help but hug Tang Guo. Don't worry, even if I go to the company to study, I won't forget to do the language paper. It's just that I'll be busier in the future. Yes, of course I support my boyfriend's ambition. After hearing this, Wei Yu heaved a sigh of relief. His eyes flickered with joy, and he finally couldn't help but kiss Tang Guo's forehead. I'll accompany you to be university. Peak. Chapter 266. Ma Mao was taken away after a fight with a group of underlings in a bar. He was not nervous at all. He only thought that these people took him away because they had gathered a crowd to cause trouble. When the time came, he would call his mother and everything would be resolved. But this time was different from what he had imagined. Later, he found out that the family Tang had sued him. Ji Xiaoxi was also asked to leave. In the video of Tang Guo being splashed with sulfuric acid by Ma Mao, Ji Xiaoxi was very conspicuous. They all saw Ji Xiaoxi push Tanghua, and then Ma Mao caught up with her and splashed Tanghua. The Ma family had already lost, so they did not have a good impression of this young master of the Ma family, who originally had a bad impression. It was not until he was brought to court and faced the family Tang in the plaintiff's seat that he came back to his senses. He could not help but meet Tanghua's eyes. He wanted to say something, but the people here obviously would not let him say anything else to defend himself. This time, it was very fast. The Ma couple were suspected of breaking the law and were detained, and there was no news of their backer. If the Ma family's relatives had not come to visit them, they would not have known that Ma Mao had been sued by the family Tang. They only hurriedly asked someone to help Ma Mao hire a lawyer, but it was useless. In the face of all the facts and without the Ma family's help, Ma Mao could not escape the blame. The scene of him ferociously and crazily attacking Tanghua in the video shocked everyone present. How could such a young boy be so ruthless? How could he do such a thing to such a beautiful girl? Ma Mao pursed his lips and did not explain anything. I didn't know that the person I accidentally bumped into was Tanghua. Ma Mao was too scary at that time. I was scared out of my wits and only knew to run forward. Ji Xiaoxi covered her face with a pained expression. If I had known this would happen, I definitely wouldn't have left. The students of Class 2 and 3 also heard about this and they all came. Hearing Ji Xiaoxi's words, they felt ridiculous for the first time. Even if she didn't know at first, what happened later? Tanghua's disfigurement was such a big thing. Didn't she realize? They had never heard of Ji Xiaoxi apologizing to Campus Bell Tang and pretending not to know. Ma Mao also glanced at Ji Xiaoxi, and a trace of mockery flashed across his lips. So this was the person he liked from the beginning? Perhaps he was mistaken. Ji Xiaoxi was not the little girl who had helped him beat up people in the amusement park. Thinking of this, he could not help but look at Tanghua. Their faces were so similar. He had an impulsive thought in his heart. Could it be that the little girl was her? If that was the case, he didn't dare to imagine what he had done. His hands were shaking. He had long regretted his impulse to listen to his friend's advice and pour sulfuric acid on Ji Xiaoxi. At first, he was glad that it wasn't Ji Xiaoxi who was splashed, but now he regretted it. Why wasn't it Ji Xiaoxi? If Tanghua was really the little girl from the amusement park, then Ma Mao lowered his head and didn't say much when he was defending himself. He looked like he had admitted defeat. After the defense lawyer found that he had given up struggling, he said a few words symbolically and stopped fighting for anything. In the end, Ma Mao was sentenced to 2 years in prison for intentional injury. When he was sentenced, he still didn't say anything and only stared at Tanghua. When he was taken away, he asked to say a few words to Tanghua. Perhaps because she saw his good attitude, she agreed. However, she also kept some distance, afraid that he would do something extreme. The Peak. Chapter 267. Facing Tanghua's smiling face, Ma Mao thought for a long time before he opened his mouth. Do you hate me? Of course. Tanghua said straightforwardly. I was supposed to be as beautiful as a flower, but because of you, I became like this. Do you think I don't hate you? Ma Mao's heart sank, and he felt a little uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I was too impulsive. He was spoiled by his parents, and he would do anything to get what he wanted. When he couldn't get what he wanted, he was instigated to destroy it. That was why he hurt the innocent girl. I know you won't forgive me, but I still have to say this. He finally understood and couldn't deny that even if she was not beautiful, he was still attracted to her. I want to ask you a question. After hesitating for a moment, Ma Mao still asked. 10 years ago, one winter, did you go to Chunyue amusement park and beat up a few bad kids for a little boy who was being bullied? Tanghua was stunned for a moment. She tried to recall the memory of the original body and quickly found the scene that day. It seems like there was such a thing. Hearing the accurate answer, Ma Mao's face instantly turned pale. His lips trembled, and his whole body was trembling. There was a look of despair in his eyes. It was really her. Why? He covered his face with both hands and rubbed it hard. He couldn't hold back the tears in his eyes. He didn't put down his hands and said quickly, I have no more questions. Take me away. He couldn't wait to turn around, leaving the people who were present confused. Tanghua looked at Ma Mao's back and smiled. So there was such a thing. No wonder he fell in love with Ji Xiaoxi at first sight. The original body was sent to and from school by the driver. Basically, it was impossible for her to meet Ma Mao. Ji Xiaoxi's school was not far from home, so it was easy for her to meet Ma Mao. It was normal for him to mistake Ji Xiaoxi for the original body. Although there was this episode, Tanghua was very satisfied. Ma Mao must be very painful to hurt the people he cared about when he was young. Host, I can feel your joy. Of course I'm happy. I have sent my enemy to prison, and I don't think Mr. and Mrs. Ma can run away. Their family should be reformed in prison. Gua gua. The family Tang couple hugged Tanghua. At this moment, they were really relieved. But when they saw their daughter's face, they felt sad again. Tanghua looked up and smiled. Don't worry. My classmates like me very much. They don't like me because of my looks. The students of class 2 and 3 quickly reacted. They all said that Campus Belle Tang was someone they had always admired. Only then did the family Tang couple feel relieved. Wei Yu had been by her side the entire time. His parents-in-law, classmates, and many adults were there. Although he really wanted to hug his girlfriend and hold her hand, he couldn't withstand so many gazes. Everything that happened today made him want to control the Wei clan even more. After Ma Mao served his sentence, Ji Xiaoxi was a little muddle-headed. Although she didn't commit any crime and it was just an unintentional mistake, the way her classmates looked at her made her feel very uncomfortable. It was even more uncomfortable than before. Xiaoxi, don't be sad. I'm still by your side. This delicate and pretty girl was Ji Xiaoxi's classmate. She pulled Ji Xiaoxi up. You didn't do it on purpose. Let's find a time to apologize to Tanghua. She's a very good person. She'll forgive you for your unintentional mistake. Ji Xiaoxi was originally very touched. When she heard that the other party was going to pull her to apologize to Tanghua, she pushed her away and shouted, "Everything is my fault. What did I do wrong? I was just avoiding that lunatic Ma Mao, who asked her to block the way. If she didn't stand there, would she have been knocked down?" Peak. Chapter 268. Host, your boyfriend is really amazing. He only used one holiday to gain a foothold in the Wei group. He even bought people's hearts without leaving a trace. The system was confused. Is there really such a thing as a natural-born talent in this world? You're thinking too much. There's no such thing as a natural talent. Tanghua smiled. He's smart and hardworking. Ever since he said that he wanted to take over the Wei family, he basically has no free time except for eating and sleeping. No. Host, you're wrong. He talks to you for half an hour every day and spends a day every week to play with you. The system quickly retorted. Your boyfriend not only buys you food, but also perfume, bags, bracelets, and branded sneakers. Don't think I don't know. Tanghua. Her system was indeed a fool. Host, doesn't your conscience hurt? Tanghua. Tanghua silently put away the French-branded perfume on the table and turned to put the bag Wei you gave her yesterday into the cloakroom. Haha, stupid system. What's wrong with giving her things when she's in a relationship? Rotten host, you don't do business in this world and don't fight for resources. Your heart has been corroded by the love of a creature like your boyfriend. The system snorted. You actually want to reap without sowing. I really didn't expect you to be such a host. Have you said enough? Hearing Tanghua's cold voice, the system shuddered. Oh my God, what did I just say? That. Host. I'm drunk. Don't mind the nonsense I said just now. He. Tanghua sneered and picked up her phone to call Wei Yu. The system secretly observed its host's expression. Its heart was trembling. Was the host really angry? What should he do? What nonsense was he spouting just now? Gua. Classes will start in a few days. Have you finished your homework? When Wei Yu heard this, he trembled. Looking at the stack of test papers in front of him, he didn't dare to lie. I'm doing it. Don't worry, Gua. I finished my language homework long ago. The other subjects are easy and I'll finish them soon. After saying that, he still felt a little uneasy. Recently, the company had been too busy, and he was eager to gain a foothold. Other than Chinese, he had not touched any other subjects. Oh, that's good. I have a sum of money. Can I invest it in my boyfriend? The system was shocked. How come it didn't know that the host was rich? She even wanted to invest in Weiyu. The system suddenly felt fear. It was over. It was over. The host must have heard him say that she was a rotten host, so she wanted to invest. As expected, she hated him. Guogua, why do you suddenly want to invest? Weiyu was surprised. In fact, he did want to do a project recently, but there were still many people who did not support him. If someone invested at this time, he could do this project. Tangwa's pleasant voice rang out. Even if I put it aside, my boyfriend has been buying me a lot of luxury goods recently. He must be making money. I want to make more money. I don't feel at ease investing in others, so I might as well invest in you. Does Guogua trust me so much? Weiyu clenched his fists, his eyes shining. Guogua actually trusted him so much. He would definitely make a career, protect her, treat her well, and not let her suffer any grievances. You're my boyfriend. If I don't trust you, who should I trust? Boyfriend, send me your card number. Peek. Chapter 269. Weiyu rubbed his eyes and counted the zeros on the transfer message. He confirmed that he had not counted wrongly. There were indeed 8 zeros. The first digit was 6. His girlfriend had invested 60 million yuan in him. His girlfriend was so rich. This was Weiyu's first thought. His girlfriend was so good at making money. This was Weiyu's second thought. His girlfriend had actually invested 60 million yuan in him. Weiyu was so touched that he wanted to cry. Those cunning old foxes in the company wanted to suppress him in everything. Anyone with a bit of foresight would know that the new project he wanted to do could make a lot of money. It was not that they did not agree, but they wanted to poke at his spirit and make him restrict them. When he compromised, they would more or less agree. Seeing the 8 zeros, Weiyu did not want to do his homework anymore. He threw his pen away and rode his motorcycle to the family tang. When he reached the family tang, he shouted, Guogua, Guogua, come down quickly. System. Tangwa opened the window and saw a silly smile on his face. He even revealed a mouthful of white teeth and smiled. Have you finished your homework? Weiyu, can we not talk about homework now? He was very excited. He just wanted to hug his girlfriend and hold her little hand. It would be even better if he could kiss her. His girlfriend's little hand was soft and her face was tender. He did not even dare to touch it, afraid that he would hurt her. Thinking of the scar on his girlfriend's face, he felt a little sad. She must be very sad too, but she never showed it. Boyfriend, go back and do your homework. School is about to start. Weiyu's face was full of reluctance. At least come down and hold her little hand to express his excitement. How about this? Bring your homework over to do. I'll get someone to make lunch. You can eat here. Weiyu was excited when he heard that. Guogua, I'm coming in. I'll call my assistant to bring my papers over. As he walked, he took out his phone and called his assistant. Go to my house. My science papers, math papers, and English papers are all in my study. Bring them to the family tang. Which family tang is it? My girlfriend's house, Tangwa. Do you know her? She's your sister-in-law. She's here to look for you. She'll visit you often in the future. If she can't find you, she can get lost. Yes, hurry up, or I'll deduct your bonus. Be there in half an hour, and I'll double your salary. Tangwa was speechless. Her boyfriend had taken over the family business, but he still didn't look like a future CEO. Instead, he looked more like a mafia boss. Host, why do you have so much money? The system asked weakly. Why didn't it know? It felt so wronged. If it had known that the host was so rich, it wouldn't have said such nonsense. In a moment of pleasure, he turned to look at the crematorium. I bought 2 good stocks some time ago and made a fortune. System. Oh, sob sob sob. Host is so awesome. Isn't it like a pie falling from the sky and reaping without sowing? No, it doesn't look like it at all. It really doesn't look like it, the system quickly said. First of all, the host chose those 2 stocks because he had good foresight. Secondly, the host dared to buy them because he was brave enough. Lastly, if the host didn't have luck, he definitely wouldn't have made a profit. Look at how many people in the entire stock market have lost so much that they're down to their underwear. System, your IQ has increased a lot, and your flattery skills are getting better and better. I'm telling the truth. The system was a little scared and hurriedly said, Your boyfriend is here. Host. Open the door quickly. Peek. Chapter 270. In the second semester of the second year of high school, the students of Class 3 passed by amidst the sweet affection of Campus Bell Tang and Campus Hunk Wei. Yes, the people in the school no longer called Wei Yu a school bully. He was now handsome, rich, and had super good grades. With his girlfriend's investment, Wei Yu won the project that he had been admiring for a long time and made a lot of money. With the support of his maternal family, more and more people in the Wei Corporation supported him. With his hard work, language was no longer a problem for him. The seats for the final exam were arranged according to the midterm exam ranking. This time, Wei Yu sat behind his girlfriend. The two of them walked into the examination hall and looked at each other affectionately. All the top students in the examination hall were depressed and were not in the mood to take the exam. But what could they say? One of them was first in the cohort and the other was second in the cohort. Not only did dating not affect their studies, but they also improved together because of dating. Which top student had the ability to pull the last in the cohort to second in the cohort? Fu Zhuoshu, who was sitting in the third seat, was speechless. What else could he do other than being depressed and giving his blessings? He gritted his teeth. The girl he liked didn't like him. His first and second place in the cohort were snatched away by the person he liked and his love rival. There was probably nothing sadder than this in the world. The students sitting in the fourth and fifth seats were speechless. Hee. Forget about Tanghua. How did Wei Yu run from the last to second? They were even more depressed. Ji Xiaoxi was in the last seat of the third examination hall. She swallowed a black pill. She didn't use it for the midterm exam and her grades plummeted. She thought that she had worked very hard in her studies. It was the things that happened outside that affected her too much. Especially Tanghua and Wei Yu, who were showing off their love all day, and the teachers didn't care about them. When she thought about how she would have to continue for another 4 months, she felt uncomfortable all over. She was wearing a thick wig on a hot summer day. It was really uncomfortable. She could do badly in the midterm exam, but she definitely couldn't lose face again in the final exam. When the holidays came, she had to study hard at home and try to make up for her weaknesses. When she took the report card, Ji Xiaoxi saw that her ranking had finally risen to the top 12. The teacher even encouraged her. But when she touched the wig on her head, her smile froze. She had to stay at the top for another 4 months. Ji Xiaoxi, congratulations. Your grades have improved again. The girl sitting at the same table said in a friendly manner. Ji Xiaoxi felt disgusted when she saw those kind eyes. She said expressionlessly, too many things happened in the first half of the semester. I can't calm down. I still care about the final exam. I can't do badly. Congratulations to student Tanghua and student Wei Yu for tying for first place, only 1 point away from full marks. The homeroom teacher was all smiles. He had always hated high school students falling in love. For the first time, he felt that the love between a little girl and a little boy was wonderful. Haha. If the other students in the class could be like the two of them, he wouldn't mind helping them to pull strings and cover for them. They're really amazing. Their grades are still so good even after falling in love. The one who spoke was Ji Xiaoxi's deskmate. This made Ji Xiaoxi feel very uncomfortable in her heart. Tanghua, it was Tanghua again. Ever since school started, Tanghua had always been in her life. Compared to her, she was like a clown. Boyfriend, are you going to turn the sky upside down? You actually want to snatch my first place, Tanghua said with a smile. Wei Yu quickly held his girlfriend's small hand and comforted her. He said in a low voice, Guagua, I just want to be closer to you. The students around them. Fuck, give them a way out. Peek. Chapter 271. Something happened at the start of the third year of high school. The matter of first high school's Tanghua and Wei Yu dating was exposed on the internet. The post pointed out that the two of them had good family backgrounds, but the teachers did not stop them. Instead, they often saw them holding hands and talking to them. They did not express that they had to pay attention to their image on campus. Such a thing should not have happened on campus. If the teachers and the school allowed high school students to date, wouldn't that be telling all the students that they could date casually and not care? Such a bad atmosphere immediately attracted the attention of many people. For a moment, countless people were following the post, scolding these two shameless boys and girls. Ji Xiaoxi flipped through the post and sneered. Then, she deleted the record of the post. How shameless! Can you do whatever you want just because you have money? It's fine if it's at home, but they're so intimate in school. I'm really afraid that my daughter will study in this school. Tisk, TSK, TSK. What's wrong with society now? These teachers don't care. Is it because their family backgrounds are good? If that's the case, they might as well go to a noble school. They're all rich people. They have the final say. Anyway, they're rich. I have no objections. I agree. It's better to expel such a student who openly affects the atmosphere. The principal and teachers quickly found out about this matter and were very speechless. The matter was not that serious. On the contrary, because of Tanghua and Weiyu, the atmosphere in their school was getting better and better. Originally, there were many sneaky couples in first high school. Because of Weiyu and Tanghua, the teachers would catch them and say meaningfully, "If you can do what Tanghua and Weiyu do, the teachers can choose not to see it." The next day, the couple broke up. This incident was posted on the school forum, and they never saw a young couple holding hands in the woods again. The boys and girls in the school took the initiative to keep their distance because their dean was a top-notch person. When he saw two boys and girls who had a slightly better relationship, he would come up and ask with a smile, "Classmate, are you two in a relationship?" The dean had a kind expression. "Don't be afraid. The teacher has no intention of breaking you up. As long as your grades improve half as fast as Tanghua and Weiyu, the teacher can choose not to see it." "Dean, you're poisonous." The boy said, "No, teacher, you misunderstood. Really, this is a big misunderstanding. We have nothing to do with each other." The girl said, "Teacher, I don't know this guy. I don't know who he is. Also, I can't be friends with him. He's too short, not handsome, and his grades are not good. I don't like him." The boy said, "Teacher, to be honest, this girl is a little ugly. I can't bear to hold her hand. Her hand is thicker than mine. I don't want to hold it at all." The girl, "Classmate, do you know what it means to be forever alone?" He, the head of teaching, looked disappointed. "I see." After saying that, his eyes lit up as he noticed another pair of boys and girls who were walking close to each other. "Everyone, please maintain a safe distance. The dean is here," someone shouted, and the students scattered in all directions. The dean was speechless. He shook his head helplessly. It was so boring recently. He couldn't even catch a couple. It was as if life had lost its fun. "Principal, what should we do now? The reaction over there is a bit intense." The form teacher of class 3 was a little angry. "I don't know who's jealous of our school. They actually posted such a post." The principal sneered. "This is very simple. Post all of Tanghua and Weiyu's report cards and test papers." Peak. Chapter 272. The post on the forum was at the top, and some media outlets even fought to report this matter. After the matter developed, a post with Tanghua's and Weiyu's report cards and test papers since high school appeared. At first, no one paid attention to it. Later, some bored people flipped through it and were stunned. This person was a big V on Weibo. After flipping through it, he first cursed and then excitedly wrote a Weibo post. "Everyone, pay attention, pay attention, high energy ahead. You're criticizing them for affecting the school atmosphere, but you don't know that they're working hard behind the scenes. You're mocking them, but you don't know that they don't care. You think that they're affecting your children's studies. Hee, you don't know that they're tied for first place in the school. The last thing I want to say is, if my daughter and son can work so hard in a relationship, child, go ahead. Dad supports you." After this Weibo post appeared, it instantly became popular. There was even a link to the report card post below the Weibo post. After everyone saw it, they silently pinched their faces. Soon, many posts with strange names appeared. On the counterattack of the last place in the grade. It's not that the first place doesn't study hard, but there's no girl named Tanghua in his class. I want a girlfriend named Tanghua. I wonder if there is one. If I met a girl named Tanghua in high school, I would be in Harvard now, not Lanxiang. If there was such a couple in our school, I guarantee that I wouldn't have the face to fall in love early. I would be in a foreign company now, not a small company with a stingy boss. I still doubt life. How did Wei Yu do it? If I had Tanghua in my life, then the parents. If I had a daughter named Tanghua, since you like that young man named Wei Yu, bring her home to take a look. If I had a son named Wei Yu, I would definitely ask him to date a little girl named Tanghua. At school. Why doesn't our school have Tanghua or Wei Yu? Students who were still in high school. It's enough for a pair of such people to appear. My hurt heart can't take it anymore. The principal and teachers of number 1 high school, family Tang couple, the Wei Corporation. So little boss was a bad student from the start. Ji Xiaoxi's face was contorted as she scrolled through the posts. She couldn't accept this. What was wrong with these people? Just as she was about to do something, another post revealed Wei Yu's identity as the general manager of the Wei Corporation. All of a sudden, the people who were complaining shut up. Wei Yu simply revealed his biggest investor's name. On it was the name Tanghua. The first investment amount was 60 million, and the second investment amount was 100 million. The people who were reading the thread silently clutched their little hearts. They were all big shots, and they couldn't afford to offend them. Tanghua had a Weibo account. It was because she was outstanding in her studies that she was allowed to use it according to the school's requirements. Because of this incident, she gained a few million followers. Some fans asked her how she learned, and she answered with a smile, "I was born smart." He was about to collapse. When some fans saw that she had invested 160 million yuan, they could not help but ask if it was the pocket money that her family Tang had given her. She said truthfully, "I used my pocket money to buy a few good stocks some time ago. Fuck. It's fine if she's good at her studies, but she's also a god of stocks." Some lurking stock investors silently clicked follow and asked questions about stocks from time to time. Tanghua answered them one by one and was worshipped by the stock investors as a god. Peak. Chapter 273. The first semester of the third year of high school ended again. During the final exams, Tanghua and Wei Yu were still in the first and second positions. The position behind Fu Zhuoshu changed countless times, but he was still firmly in the third position. He was determined not to let anyone take it away from him, and he spent less and less time with Ji Xiaoxi. If Ji Xiaoxi's hair had not grown out, he would have broken up with her long ago. Now that Ji Xiaoxi was becoming more and more difficult to deal with, he was already very annoyed. Ji Xiaoxi was still in the third examination hall. She looked at the black pill in her hand and swallowed it. Soon, it was the college entrance exam. Tanghua had many more fans. On the day of her college entrance exam, her fans sent her their blessings. Some shareholders sent their blessings because Tanghua did not hide anything and gave them many directions. Although they did not earn much, they did not lose everything like before. On the day before the college entrance exam, Ji Xiaoxi, who had not appeared in a long time, Tanghua. Ji Xiaoxi, school bell, do you have any more super smart pills? A few days ago, when she was revising, Ji Xiaoxi suddenly realized that she seemed to know everything when she opened the book. But when she closed the book, she could not understand anything. She had done that question before, but when she did it, she kept making mistakes. She should have filled in the answers correctly, but she did not know why she filled in the wrong answers. She seemed to have lost her ability to calculate. Her brain seemed to have not worked for a long time. She should have answered the questions correctly when she had seen them before. In the past, during the final exams, she only needed to flip through a book quickly and then take the exam. She could answer all the questions she had seen before. Previously, she thought that when it was the college entrance exam, she would close the book and take the exam. She did not expect that, with her marks, she would not even be able to get into an ordinary undergraduate program. At this moment, Ji Xiaoxi panicked. She thought that she was smart enough and only needed to flip through the book and not do the practice questions. She would still do well in the final exams. Why was it not so? The college entrance exam was tomorrow. She did not have the chance to revise at all. Suddenly, she remembered a group that she had not been in for a long time. Tanghua had been keeping in touch with the group members. She was not surprised by Ji Xiaoxi's appearance. When Ji Xiaoxi asked her to exchange super smart pills for the second time, she knew that this would happen. This was because she had only given her 12 pills the second time. The pills from the first semester of the second year, the second semester, and the first semester of the third year were exactly 12 pills. With Ji Xiaoxi's personality, she definitely wouldn't save her intelligence for the college entrance exam. She subconsciously thought that she could exchange her intelligence with Tanghua. Host, you are so sinister. Ziyun Dao Master and the others, who hadn't spoken, also sighed silently in their hearts. Yes, the school bell was really insidious. At first, he didn't think that there was anything wrong with 12 stones. After being in contact with Ji Xiaoxi for a long time, he also knew that there were several semesters in this Plains High School. Now that Ji Xiaoxi had come over to ask about pills, it was probably to prepare for the legendary college entrance exam that would change her life. The school bell was really amazing. She had calculated this point, and had also thoroughly figured out Ji Xiaoxi's personality. Campus bell, I told you last time. That was the last exchange. Ji Xiaoxi panicked. School beauty, please help me one more time. Just this once. I promise I won't ask you to exchange pills again. School bell, you don't have anything that I'm interested in. The things you exchanged with me before can't be exchanged for so many things. You're so smart. Do you really think you picked up the medicinal herbs for refining pills? System. Actually, I really picked it up. Vertex. Chapter 274. Ji Xiaoxi panicked and couldn't control herself anymore. She typed a lot of words. If it wasn't for Tanghua's understanding of her, she might have sympathized with her. No one in the group came out to help. They were all aware of Ji Xiaoxi's ugliness, so no one sympathized with her. Although the school bell's smart pills were meant to tease her, if the other party was a smart and hardworking person, they would use these pills reasonably. The pills could be used to solve difficult problems that they usually couldn't solve, as well as some problems that they usually couldn't handle. In the end, they could definitely be admitted to a good university. However, she only wanted to reap without sowing and used her super smart pills on exams. It was simply a waste of talent. She deserved to end up like this. Ji Xiaoxi, I'll use all my items to exchange for one pill. Just one pill, okay? Ji Xiaoxi's thoughts were that she was relatively equal in all other subjects except language. She had learned these 3 subjects since she was young, so she had an advantage. On the other hand, there were only 3 subjects in the science exam. There was more content, and the questions were more difficult. She would use this pill on the science exam. Tanghua raised an eyebrow and agreed. She also said, super smart pills can only eat 15 pills at most. How many did you eat before? I remember that you gave some to your friend last time. Even if you split it in half, it shouldn't be a problem. Ji Xiaoxi felt the soles of her feet turn cold. She had a bad feeling. She had eaten 16 pills by herself. School bell, what do you mean? What will happen if I eat more than 15 pills? I didn't give it to you for your own good. I was afraid that if you ate more than 15 pills, you would be stuck forever. I can't do anything about it. It's because I overused my brain. This is also why I said last time that it would be the last deal. If you didn't come for your friend, I wouldn't have given it to you. I'll give you 16 pills in total. Even if you only give one to your friend and you eat 15 pills, there won't be such consequences. I'll give it to you. What? Ji Xiaoxi's eyes widened. She took off her wig and touched her bald head. In an instant, all the blood drained from her head. She would never grow hair again? Super smart pills could only eat 15 pills? Ji Xiaoxi angrily picked up her phone and typed, "Why didn't you say so earlier? I only planned to give you 16 pills. You even said that you would give them to your friends. No matter how much you ate, you would never exceed 15 pills. I also forgot about this problem. After all, very few people want to exchange this from me. The most they can exchange is no more than 15. If it's more than that, I won't give it to them. You're an exception. If it weren't for your relationship with your friend, I wouldn't have made an exception. Host, your explanation is so serious. I almost believed you." The system silently peeked at him. "Is this for your friend or for you? And how many have you eaten so far?" Tanghua asked silently. Ji Xiaoxi was still immersed in the fact that she would never be able to grow hair because of herself. The other party only thought that she had given it to her friend. This was a trap that she had dug herself. Who could she blame? Ji Xiaoxi, do you still need it? To be honest, I don't want to make an exception for you a second time. If you don't need it, I'll leave. Ji Xiaoxi reacted. Yes, I'll give you the rest. Since he couldn't grow hair anymore, there was no difference between eating one less or one more. Tomorrow was the college entrance exam. She had to perform exceptionally well. After exchanging the pills, Ji Xiaoxi was no longer in the mood to study. She lay on the bed in a daze. She couldn't help but touch her bald head. Once she thought about how she would never be able to grow hair, her tears fell. Peak. Chapter 275. When the college entrance examination results came out, number 1 high school was in the limelight. The top scorer for 2 subjects would probably not appear for many years to come. It should be said that it might not appear again in the future. What was even scarier was that the 2 of them were a couple. The scariest thing was that Wei Yu was once last place. The teacher was not surprised that they scored full marks. Their usual test papers were also very perfect. Only the language teacher would deduct 1 point out of friendship. There were many teachers marking the college entrance examination papers. A full score essay had to be unanimously agreed by several teachers, who knew that these 2 who scored full marks would end up with full marks in all subjects, and they were even a couple. Ji Xiaoxi looked at the report card in her hand and tears fell. Chinese 109, Mathematics 70, English 93, Science 130, a total of 402. She finally broke down. If she did not eat the science exam, her final score would definitely be below 100. Back then, other than her final exam score of 500 and above, even in the midterm exam, she could still hover around 480 with some cleverness without taking any pills. The college entrance examination final score was 402 points, which was not even the undergraduate score. She had never thought that her results would be so bad. If she did not take any pills, what would her score be? She would not even be able to reach 400. She stared blankly at the 2 people being interviewed on the television. Even if Tangwa's face was ruined, her eloquent manner was still dazzling. Even a handsome guy like Wei Yu could not steal her light. Ji Xiaoxi covered her face and cried. Why was it like this? She had been studying every day. Tangwa did not spend much time studying. She finished her homework in the classroom every day before going back. There were no books in her bag at all. She was just like Tangwa. She even brought her homework home to finish. They had the same amount of studying time, but she got 402 while Tangwa got full marks. Xiaoxi, do you want to repeat your studies or choose a better specialization? You might not have done well this time. If you repeat your studies, I'll use the money I saved for you to study in college. If you don't want to repeat your studies, you can go to a specialization. It's not like there's no chance in a specialization. You can even upgrade your specialization. As long as you work hard, you won't be worse than others. Ji Xiaoxi's mother comforted her daughter and patted Ji Xiaoxi's head. Is it because of your hair loss that you can't calm down? When you've decided, I'll take you to a specialist. Ji Xiaoxi's expression was wooden. Let's go to a specialization. Why did she want her to go back to number 1 high school? Tangwa and Wei Yu went to be university. Fu Zhuoshu also went to be university. When he saw these 2 perverts going to be university hand in hand, his heart ached. He couldn't help but admire Wei Yu. How much did he like Tangwa? How much effort did he put in to stand in the same position as Tangwa? Fu Zhuoshu was relieved was Tangwa's? Tangwa Yushi's was Tang's was Tang. He and Ji Xiaoxi had already broken up. He didn't like Ji Xiaoxi. At that time, he had acted in a fit of pique. He had indeed let her down. He wanted to be tactful, but Ji Xiaoxi was too unreasonable. In the end, it was his parents who settled the matter. Ji Xiaoxi only broke up with him after taking a sum of money from his family. Tang. It was probably because of her face. Her face was very similar to Tangwa's. Peak. Chapter 276. Ji Xiaoxi went to a good specialist school. At first, she also signed up for a major. She was full of enthusiasm and swore to work hard to get promoted. She wanted those who looked down on her to open their eyes wide and see that she was just a dusty pearl. But in the next semester, she could not calm down. She started to fall in love. She went out to bars with her classmates and played games online all night. She no longer pursued high scores in exams. She only wanted to pass and not fail. She could not go to classes that she did not like. She would not go if she could not wake up in the morning. She would ask someone to help her take attendance. Even if she went, she would play with her phone. Anyway, everyone said that university was for fun. In the few days before the exam, she would memorize and take the exam. She forgot the unwillingness in her heart, forgot to show those who looked down on her, and forgot her desire to advance to a major. When her parents called, her excuse was always that she was busy with her studies. She always called her parents and said that she did not have any living expenses. Tanghua and Wei Yu's school life was still very sweet. Tanghua did not intend to take the business route in this world. She took the academic route of a top student. She chose the most difficult mathematics department. Wei Yu did not choose economics. Instead, he chose biology. This surprised many people. Every time someone asked him, "Isn't it best to choose economics since your family owns a mine?" Wei Yu only smiled. "I'm more interested in biology." The two of them were busy with their own studies. Every day, they would take an hour to meet, eat, and chat. They showed off their love and displayed a wave of public display of affection in B University. Everyone thought that the two of them would choose to get married after graduation. Unexpectedly, that was not the case. Tanghua devoted herself to mathematics, but no matter how busy she was, she would meet Wei Yu every week. Their relationship was not affected at all. Wei Yu also continued to work on the research of biology and the development of the Wei Corporation. In the end, he set up his own laboratory and the Wei Corporation fully invested in it. Everyone knew that Wei Yu was doing a very mysterious experiment, but no one knew the details. Tanghua won the Hua Luogang Mathematics Award at the age of 27. At that time, Wei Yu had expanded the Wei Group tenfold, but he spent more time in the laboratory and still met Tanghua twice a week. When Tanghua was 32 years old, she won the Wolf International Mathematics Prize. She won the highest honor for China's mathematics and also made a great contribution to the mathematics world. In the second year, the mathematical formula named Gua's formula appeared in the mathematics textbooks of high school students. The expressions of the students in No. 1 middle school at that time were like this. At that time, Wei Yu was a very low-key richest man in the country and was even ranked in the top 10 in the world. However, he still did not put his energy into the company. He spent all his time in the laboratory. Everyone was used to it. Perhaps this was Chairman Wei's hobby. Although he didn't achieve much, it was much better than those greedy and lecherous CEOs. Tanghua won the Fields Medal at the age of 35. The name of Tanghua once again resounded throughout the world. She had won limitless glory for China. At that time, the concept of Gua's formula had already filled the entire high school textbook. The students in number 1 middle school, "Senior, please don't hurt us like this. There are too many formulas, too complicated, too difficult to calculate, too difficult to memorize. Seeing that we are all schoolmates, can you be merciful?" However, the reality was that Gua's formula, concepts, and new theories were constantly appearing. The textbooks of high school students were getting more and more difficult year after year. The mathematics subject in China had become the most difficult subject of all. Every time they stared at the Gua's formula, the students couldn't help but go online and find a photo of that smiling woman and stare at it for a long time. A living mathematician was really scary, especially a female mathematician. Her hair was so thick, but she wasn't bald. It was so scary. Peak. Chapter 277. This year, Tanghua was 38 years old, and Wei Yu was 40 years old. The two of them agreed to meet at a cold drink shop. Wei Yu was already a mature man, and time did not leave any traces on his face. This man was like a fine wine, becoming more and more fragrant as time passed. However, the gaze in Tanghua's eyes was still pure and affectionate. As long as she frowned slightly, he would be very worried. "What kind of ice cream does Guagua want to eat?" He asked this question countless times without getting tired of it. The corners of Tanghua's mouth curled up. "I want every kind." She was also very willing to answer. "Okay, Guagua will wait." The man turned around to buy ice cream and asked the shop assistant to dig out a small spoon of each kind of ice cream. Soon, he came back with the ice cream and placed it in front of Tanghua, handing her a small spoon. He didn't eat anything and just watched her eat. That doting gaze was simply about to melt the hearts of all the female shop assistants. Even though the two of them would come to their shop every week to eat all the flavors of ice cream, and every dog food made their hearts feel stifled, they would not be used to it if they did not come for a week. Tangwa buried her head in the ice cream and ate it. She was almost 40 years old, but she still looked like a little girl. Host, according to the plot, Wei Yu's life is coming to an end. The system carefully reminded. In his previous life, he was a gangster boss and died in a fight with someone. However, some plots are irreversible, such as death. I understand. Tangwa curled the corners of her mouth and tasted the delicious ice cream seriously. In the remaining time of his life, I will accompany him well and let him leave without regrets. Host, aren't you sad? Are you sad? Wei Yu should be the person who treats you the best. He was referring to the small world he had experienced. Only Wei Yu had never hurt the host in the slightest. Since high school, he had carefully protected and doted on his host. Tangwa's lips curled into a faint smile. Of course I'm sad. It's a pity. I really like him. But death is not scary to me. The scariest thing is that my death is just another beginning, an endless cycle. Tangwa ate a bowl of ice cream for half an hour. Seeing that she had finished eating, Wei Yu took out a tissue and carefully wiped the corners of her mouth. His sincere look was as if he was treating a precious and fragile object. Boyfriend. Tangwa looked at him. Do you want to get married? Wei Yu was stunned for a moment. He threw the tissue into the wastebasket and caressed her face with his palm. His voice was low and hoarse. I think about it all the time. Then let's get married. Wei Yu's eyes flashed with surprise as he held his girlfriend's hand. Is Gua Gua proposing to me? Yeah. I should be the one to propose to Gua Gua. Wei Yu's eyes were filled with smiles. He held her hand tightly and gazed at her affectionately. Gua Gua, give me some time. I will give you my most precious gift. All right, I'll satisfy you. The two of them walked out of the cold drink shop hand in hand. They looked really compatible. From that day on, Wei Yu became even busier. It wasn't until a year later that Tangwa received a call. At that time, she was calculating a very complicated formula. Tangwa, who had always been professional, threw down the results in her hand and turned to leave. At the Wei family's private hospital, Tangwa pushed open the door. Seeing this, the people inside quickly retreated. She came to the bedside and held Wei Yu's hand. Wei Yu's face was a little pale, and he was even thinner than when they met 2 days ago. Gua Gua, this is the best gift I can give you. Wei Yu took out a transparent glass bottle filled with green liquid. Peek. Chapter 278. Tangwa held the glass bottle and asked in a low voice, What is this? It looks so beautiful, like it's glowing. It's really the best gift I've received in my life. Tangwa smiled. I won't be able to receive a better gift than this in the future. Wei Yu's eyes lit up and he said hopefully, Skin regeneration fluid. I've named it skin regeneration fluid. He touched the hideous scar on Tangwa's face with heartache. Gua Gua is a girl who loves to be beautiful. How can I let this scar stop Gua Gua's beauty? Tangwa was stunned and looked at Wei Yu in a daze. You've been studying for half your life just for this? Yes. Wei Yu was a little excited. This is the greatest achievement of my life. His eyes were bright. This is my proposal gift. I hope you like it. She was so perfect and liked to pursue perfection. How could he not be willing to help her be more perfect? He loved her, the kind of love that deeply. Her every frown and smile could affect his heart. If she was sad, his heart would ache. If she was happy, he would be happy. Her happiness was his happiness. Tangwa patted Wei Yu's face and smiled. Boyfriend, you're really too willful. In order to study this regeneration fluid, you don't even care about your own body. Do you know? I actually don't care about this scar. She was really charming when she smiled. Boyfriend, do you have any misunderstanding about my charm? I have countless admirers with this scar. People praise me for my beauty every day. Do you have to provoke so many love rivals for yourself? Seeing Wei Yu's stunned expression, Tangwa lowered her head and kissed his lips. But I really like it. Boyfriend, you're so good to me. But I'm a little angry. I've become beautiful, but you're gone, Guogua. Tangwa reached out to cover his lips. Didn't you propose to me? I agree. Let's get married tomorrow. Guogua, isn't tomorrow a little too rushed? Wei Yu was a little confused. He hadn't prepared everything about the wedding yet. Even if they were going to get married, they had to give her a wedding that she would never forget. You don't have to worry about that, boyfriend. I got someone to arrange the wedding a year ago. You just have to show up tomorrow. Wei Yu knew that there was something wrong with his body. He was clearly fine 2 days ago, but he collapsed just like that. He was very panicked. He was afraid that if he left, Guogua would be sad. He was also afraid of losing her. Holding his girlfriend's hand, he felt more at ease. Guogua wanted to marry him, but he was a little hesitant. He didn't have long to live. If he got married, wouldn't he be holding Guogua back? Boyfriend, if you dare to run away from the marriage, I will let you die with everlasting regret. Wei Yu hurriedly threw the idea of running away from the marriage to the back of his mind. Guogua was someone who kept her word. He was not afraid of dying with everlasting regret. He was afraid that she would hurt herself. Tangwa sat with Wei Yu in the ward for a long time. During this time, she browsed through the plane group. After thinking for a while, she sent out a message. Sage Ziyun, do you have the life-prolonging pill? Ziyun Junren, yes. Campus Bell, how many do you need? Campus Bell, give me one first. I'll try to see if it works. Some things in the plot were irreversible. She could change the plot, but she couldn't change the length of his life. As the system said, she really did want Wei Yu to live a little longer. After getting the life-prolonging pill, Tangwa came to Wei Yu's side and directly fed it to him. Swallow it. Peek. Chapter 279. Wei Yu did not dare to disobey and quickly swallowed it. Seeing this, she was both angry and amused. This fool was really obedient. He was so obedient that it moved people. System, help me scan my boyfriend's body and see if the life-continuing pill has any effect. The system was very fast and soon came up with a result. Sorry, host, the life-continuing pill has no effect. Tangwa understood. She had guessed that it might be useless, and it really was useless. She squatted beside Wei Yu and asked softly, Boyfriend, do you have any regrets in your life? Regrets? Wei Yu thought for a while and held Tangwa's hand tightly. I don't have any regrets in my life. Instead, I'm very lucky to have met you. Guogua, I don't have any regrets. If I really don't have 2 more days to live, I'll only regret that I can't continue to be by your side. Host, your boyfriend's thoughts are so simple. He's too easy to satisfy. He's not greedy at all. He loves you so much. The system waved its handkerchief and cried like a tearful person. The wedding was held the next day. When countless people received the invitation that night, they were all dumbfounded. Only those who were well-informed knew that Wei Yu's body couldn't take it anymore. For a moment, countless people couldn't help but sigh. What a beautiful couple. No matter how busy the people who were invited were, those who could rush back had to rush back overnight. Those who were further away could only watch helplessly. Fortunately, there was still the live broadcast of the wedding for them to enjoy. Tangwa wore a pure white wedding dress and held Father Tang's hand as they walked towards the auditorium. Everyone was stunned when they saw her bright and clean face. After Wei Yu held her from Father Tang's hand and looked at her beautiful face, he no longer had any regrets. At this moment, Tangwa took the microphone and said to the countless people below, He is Wei Yu, my future husband. He is a great person. Tangwa took out a glass bottle filled with green liquid. There was still half a bottle of green liquid left. This is skin regeneration liquid. It can promote the regeneration of damaged skin. As soon as she finished speaking, the people who had come to attend the wedding were shocked. They all thought that this was a miracle in the history of the biological world. Once this regeneration liquid was put into production, it would be a huge improvement for humans. Not only does he know how to earn money, but he's also a biologist. Do you have any objections? No, he didn't have any opinions at all. Tangwa was satisfied. She smiled and looked at the doting Wei Yu. Wei Yu, I'll marry you. Will you marry me? I am willing. It's your turn. Wei Yu's lips curled up as he gazed at her affectionately. Guogua, I want to marry you. Are you willing to marry me? I do. Tangwa's smile softened. Hubby, it's time for us to exchange rings. Wife, don't worry. I'll help you put it on right away. The priest was speechless. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing here? The people watching the wedding were speechless. What a display of affection. It was still the same. The wedding of the century ended in a daze. This awesome couple had completed their own wedding ceremony. The biological world was in turmoil because of the regeneration liquid, but Wei Yu was so ill that he couldn't get out of bed, and his consciousness was gradually blurring. Until the last moment of his life, he held Tangwa's hand tightly and smiled. It was a smile of satisfaction. Guagua, I'm leaving. Tangwa lowered her eyes and held his big hand with both hands. She didn't say anything and didn't smile at him as usual. Guagua, I want to see you smile again. It's that kind of smile that's especially flamboyant and a little naughty. I like it so much. Peek. Chapter 280. Tangwa raised her head, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly as she gave him a wanton smile. Wei Yu was indeed satisfied. His eyes became more and more blurry. Just when he thought that he would fall into darkness, his eyes gradually became clear. After Tangwa laughed, she lowered her head. The corners of her mouth curved. This was the first time she couldn't accept this kind of life and death parting. Was she sad? Or was it this body that was sad? Both were the reasons why she was sad. Wei Yu's eyes had already regained their clarity. He looked at the woman in front of him who had her head buried, and there was a hint of love in his clear eyes. He raised his hand and touched her cheek. It felt so good. He sighed softly in his heart. His steady heart was gradually falling. However, Tom didn't allow for it. There was helplessness in his eyes. He had dug a hole, and he had to finish it even if he cried. Guagua, see you in the next life. After saying that, he closed his eyes reluctantly and slowly let go of her hand. There was a trace of satisfaction on his lips. When Tangwa heard the words, see you in the next life, she raised her head abruptly. He had already left. Tong. He said he wanted to see me in the next life. Tangwa touched Wei Yu's face. What a pity, Wei Yu. You might not be able to see me in the next life. You're so good. I'll try my best to remember you for a longer time and not forget you so quickly. Tangwa seemed to have thought of a good idea. Tong, save the images of this world for me. I'll take a look when I have time. When I'm in a bad mood, I'll watch this world heal. System, host, don't be sad. I can't help it. I'm also giving my heart sincerely. How can I not be sad? I'll forget about it after lying down for a few days in Tianquan. After Wei Yu's funeral, Tangwa spent some time with family Tang parents and went to the orphanage to adopt an obedient child. She personally taught him for a year and sent him to the family Tang couple. The next day, the servant pushed open Tangwa's room and found that she had already left. She was holding her and Wei Yu's wedding photo in her hand. Those who saw it couldn't help but cry. The great mathematician finally couldn't bear to part with her beloved husband. The equally great entrepreneur and biologist left with him. The story of the two had been passed down in this world for countless years. Their achievements were regarded as treasures by later generations. Every bit of their love was printed into a book, and it was sold out every time. Their story had never been forgotten. Dear host, are you all right? Do you want a hangover pill? The little assistant system said in a flattering tone. The host of the previous world was very happy. He had obtained a lot of energy. That's right, he had leveled up again. He was full of energy. As long as the host lived happily in each world, there would be a lot of energy to absorb after the end. It was really wonderful. His great host was his great patron, his biggest leg. Tangwa rubbed her eyebrows. For the time being, she didn't absorb the memories. The original owner drank too much wine and slept on the ground all night. She caught a cold. Her voice was a little hoarse. Give me one. After taking the sobering pill, her mind cleared up a little. She looked around and saw that the spacious living room was in a mess. There were wine bottles everywhere. There were piles of takeout boxes. She didn't know how many days they had been there. It was summer now, so the whole room was filled with a rancid smell. Looking at her nightgown that reeked of alcohol, she rushed into the bathroom. Peek. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.